Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me, because Adam messed up and he was told, "Now you fellow, you by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat."
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning and welcome to Tuesday. What's happening on these streets where you are in Nairobi this morning? We're looking at a little bit of movement already starting. Coming in on Jogoo Road, heading out towards Landis is where we'll probably see the worst of it for now. Still slim pickings on the Thika Superhighway this morning as you get into the CBD. We're not going to see too much madness, at least for now. Let's see what happens as we get into Tuesday proper. On Kangunda Road, a little bit of traffic is starting to build as you get towards Outer Ring. And the Eastern Bypass, not yet. Still a slow wake up there. Coming on the western side of the city, coming Westlands, going out west, coming in. And nothing happening here either. Gong Road is looking good. So this is time to get out and not get stuck. Let's see what happens as we progress through the morning. And we'll talk in the meantime on SpiceFM. KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is indeed. How you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This 30th day of July 2024. Bado siku ngapi?
Yani
tumaliza hii mwezi moja tu. And then we're done. And we move on.
Yep.
And August comes. Okay.
The year's over.
The year's over, sinio?
The year's over.
Yes.
By the time you start looking at days in terms of your August, they kwisha.
Imenda.
Kwisha kwenda.
Imenda. Yeah, my birthday month is coming.
Kuna birthday?
Kuna birthday ile.
Na wewe
mwaka yangu na kuisha.
Wewe iko lini birthday?
Last month. Was it last month or earlier this month?
Nani?
Yako.
You.
June.
When did we sing?
June 25th.
It was last month.
June 25th. So many things happened on that June 25th.
Wewe ukaimbiwa birthday. Parliament ikaimbiwa birthday.
Wengine wameingia parliament.
Parliament ikaimbiwa birthday. You know? Haya. Mambo iko namna gani? Karibuni sana to Kenya's biggest conversation city.
Yes, please.
Usijali, it will get warmer.
man. When it's supposed to get warm, it then rains. And that rain doesn't make things any warmer. Yes, so it is okay.
It is okay.
Hakuna shida.
It is well.
It is well, one is the weather too we're dealing with.
Is
There's nothing else we're dealing with
well
except weather. So me here.
with your soul.
The organ of the All Saints,
Exactly.
Chomoa, this hymn.
It is well. It is well with your soul.
My soul is my limbs.
This time it's your limbs.
It's my limbs. My soul is fine.
Your soul is okay.
Soul equals sour. Huh? In fact, when you say soul, I'm reminded of the song Soul Makossa.
Makossa.
Do you ever heard that song?
Oh, the one for Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah. Why? Okay.
It's not Michael Jackson.
Yeah, okay.
Abi, who sang it?
To watch it to Michael Jackson.
The original.
The original song. Hey, ow!
The original one was, what's the guy's name?
I'm trying to remember the name. I will remember it shortly, and then I will
He came
tell
to
you.
Kenya a couple of years.
He did come to Kenya.
Manu Dibango.
Manu Dibango.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say actually.
Yeah.
I knew that guy.
Michael was here. Michael. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael
Dibango.
Manu, yeah. I was
The guy,
I
the
knew on the tip of my tongue, and then
He was a saxophonist, was he not?
sure.
Where?
Haya, kama huna makosa, karibu kwenye kipindi cha leo. Let me tell you what we shall discuss today. The youth factor in Ruto's broad-based government. So the youth are saying, Kwani, where are we? Kwani, where are we? Who's the youth?
Who do you want it to be?
Someone below 35 years old.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
See, there's one who's been nominated to cabinet.
One has been nominated to cabinet. A youth.
The 32-year-old.
32-year-old chap.
Yeah.
Youth.
What ministry is
His
that?
name is Eric.
He's Eric, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Sidri what? Is he Maji?
Is it Dr. Eric something?
Nope.
That's not Dr.
He's
Eric.
an engineer, if I'm not wrong.
The guy who has a name similar to mine.
Apana naitwa Eric, for real.
Yes.
Then the other name is like Muga.
There's a guy called Muga
That's true.
Muga.
with a double
Double
U.
A.
With a, with,
Well,
For double Muga.
it's
is it W or double A?
W.
W.
Double U or W?
And this cold weather brings out all manner of things.
What are you speaking of?
Anyway, so Nerima Wako, who's the executive director of Siasa Place, will be joining us at 7 a.m. to talk about the youth factor in the broad-based government. Should more youthful persons have been included or not? And then at 8 o'clock, the new realities of the country. Masharia Gaido, veteran journalist, joins us at 8 a.m. At 9 o'clock, why President Ruto should not waste political capital that's been handed to him second time again. Kidi Muga is the convener of the Inter-Parties Youth Forum. He comes at 9. That is how the show is looking like today. At 16 minutes after 6, we're live streaming everywhere on YouTube, on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, on Radio Garden, on SpiceFM. Karibu sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. It's 14 degrees. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. It's partly cloudy at 15 in Nakuru, going to highs of 20 and lows of 14. 20 will also be the high in Nyeri, where it is 15 and cloudy, coming down to lows of 14. And 13 will be the low in a cloudy Eldoret with highs of 22. Mombasa is clear at 23, highs of 29. And Malindi at 24 is cloudy with highs of 29. Kisumu cloudy at 20 with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 in a partly cloudy Kakamega at 18, coming down to lows of 16. Kampala at 19 is cloudy, highs of 26, and partly cloudy at 23 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 30. We'll see lows of 21. Johannesburg, 5 degrees clear this morning. 19 will be the high, and we'll see highs of 28 in a partly cloudy Mogadishu Mostly cloudy at 13 in Addis Ababa with highs of 21, and Lagos is cloudy at 25 with highs of 29, while Kinshasa is cloudy at 22. We'll see highs of 29. It's raining Tuesday afternoon in Beijing with highs of 27 and lows of 25. Paris is cloudy at 20 with highs of 34 and 30 will be the high in a mostly cloudy London, currently at 17. Monday night, New York is clear at 25. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 29 and lows of 22.
It is 14 degrees in Nairobi.
Yeah.
It's cold.
And it's 5 degrees in Joburg.
Now, how do they survive?
That's the question.
Aye.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Salimia watu.
Watu wamerauka. Desmond Otis is saying something in something. Roshi, I don't know.
Gaidishia Roshine. Salam za asubuhi.
Okay. Ekaro Mamindu Ekaro. Oyaore Gen Z City Muga. Oyaore.
It's good morning. It actually means it has opened up.
The day has opened. Okay. Anthony Wadhuo says, what a time to be alive. Good morning, Ndu City Eric. Good morning to you. Joe Mongai, you have a problem with the Nyakuwa Mamili advert. What's wrong? Don't like the way the fella is shouting? Okay. The Kikombe says, good morning. Checked in from the coast and waiting for government officials to get free marine training. Wanafungua what time? Good morning. Listening from Kigali is Michael Olande. Good morning to you. Good morning, Waku. Baridi in Nairobi, where it's actually not too bad.
Says who?
Where? I am raining.
Speak for thyself.
I am cold. Morning. Good morning, says Martha Austin. Rose Grace is tuned in from Tamu and says, good morning, Ndu City Eric. Not forgetting Edna. Edna, today is Openje. But you know.
Today's Edna is Openje.
Today's Edna is Openje.
Okay.
Good to have you here. Guy, now what's wrong with you guys? I don't understand. But you have greeted us also in Kikuyu. Monfasodash says good morning from Kuwait. Hi Spice says good morning, says Ellen Paul. Evans Ntabo says good morning to everybody. Jay Wangai says he's greeting us from and says Richard Onyanka for president. Okay. Nyakairo says good morning from Qatar. Thayo Bururi. Okay. Says Wajiro. Have I completely massacred the language?
It's not Bururi, it is Forori.
It's Bururi. Bururi.
In Kikuyu, B is Fu. Fuda,
yes,
you write right. Bunda.
Yes. True. B has a V sound to it in that language.
So, that language.
It's not
so how do you say this?
It's a PH.
Thayo?
Fu.
Thayo.
PH.
Fururi.
Fururi.
What does it mean?
Fururi.
What does it mean?
So,
Kandre.
PH.
Peace. Peace.
Yeah, oh, means peace.
Peace in the country.
Bonjour, mes amis. Well, bonjour, says Cole Kibkano. Chris Mora is tuned in this morning. Brian Oginga is also tuned in as well. The General says Karatina is listening. Eric is also singing a song for you. Monday ni kasi. Tuesday ni mando. Wednesday si jolly. Hey, Thursday? Mando. Bernard Keller says good morning, tuned in. Tuesday is lying inside the Situation Room. What? You guys have decided to bring up the language this morning, have you not? Robert Libogo says good morning. Sky Simba is tuned in this morning. And Mao Owiti Pap D has already started this drama today. Salamu za asubuhi kutoka Marekani, watu wangu, says Justice A. Simon Wambadha says good morning. Fi Och says good morning from London. And kutoka Houston, Texas is Robinson Mutiso. Kenya is greeting us and says good morning. Nakuru is cold. Good morning, Ndu Ichieo.
You're woken up how?
Ichio Nade.
Yes, I've just translated for you.
Oh.
Ichio Nade.
Fine, thank you. Well done.
So how do you respond?
You've woken up well this morning, then you say thank you.
Yes, you thank them, then you say Achio Maber.
Achio Maber. I have woken up well.
Yes.
Achio Maber.
Yes.
Ero Kamano.
Hey, okay. Noah Brown is tuning this morning from San Francisco. Abdi Nasir says he's from Mogadishu. Assalamu alaikum, says Mo. The People's Observer is tuning from Izmir City. That's your homework for the day. Where on earth is Izmir? Literally, where on earth
Izmir City.
Izmir.
Hebu search hapo. Alafu tutuambie.
Izmir.
Kava city akitupatia. Proverb today. We are still in the landlocked country of
Burundi.
Burundi.
It's in Turkey.
It's in Turkey? Okay.
The proverbs are from Turkey.
No.
Izmir.
Izmir is in Turkey.
I was about to what?
You went to Wada? At the Firi Firi.
Right. Where there is peace, a billock. You know what a billock is?
No.
A bit of a sickle. Ile ambayo
Ile kuharvest
Ile kisu ya
kuharvest
chonga
rice.
very good.
Na
very
wheat.
Good. Yes,
Wheat.
yes.
Yeah.
Where there is peace, a billock can be used to shave your beard and cut your hair. Now imagine if there's no peace.
It will be used to cut your head.
Inaendaga hivyo.
Namna hiyo.
Yes.
Na Warundi nao pia.
Bwana maproverb zao bwana.
Okay. Headlines then.
Front page of the Standard this morning. Tight corner. Somebody seems to be in a tight corner. The Deputy President's fate hangs in the balance after a night meeting at the house of a senior government member discussed his impeachment on grounds of insubordination and pushing for tax rebellion. Allah, all in a night's work. He's been quoted as saying certain things, but there's a quote here on the front page. This James Gakwe, who is the Embakasi North MP, the impeachment threat has been making rounds in our MP circles for long, and it is now high time it is actualized, as opposed to being used to blackmail Gachagua. As in, we're not blackmailing you, we're just going to, bring it forward and say it's time. Guys are not joking, man. So that's what takes the front lines. William Ruto show. President goes all out to woo Kenyans. The president has started a series of town halls where he engages Kenyans, he picks questions, and he moderates the sessions himself as well.
Very good.
I welcome you to this town hall. If you have a moment, please ask me whatever questions you have in this space, because I am here to answer those questions. A way to a man's heart has never been spaghetti. Somehow, this is national news.
It's a good one.
But we look into it.
Spaghetti.
You guys don't like spaghetti much.
Yeah.
No, wait, just pause. Which guys?
Men
Read
from
the
where?
headline of the story
around
itself.
the world. Why to a man's heart has never been spaghetti.
Read the headline of the story itself. The story is on page?
The story is on page 3.
On page 3.
Yeah.
All right.
And it says, couple divorces over food abandonment. Food, and abandonment.
So food here is spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
It would appear as though
And it
spaghetti.
appears some people don't think spaghetti is food.
Yeah, it's like a snack, like crisps. Now that we've eaten this spaghetti, what's for dinner? Kind of thing.
Lala.
Lala we, si umekula. Umefungua mdomo, mweka kitu ndani umemeza. Enda ulale. Okay.
Ama urudi uko ulikuwa.
Mali ulikuwa uende ukule hapo tena.
Hawakupatia chakula.
Hawajui kama uko na njaa. Ama ile njaa wale. Okay, sorry. After the CS's Ruto acts to land on PSs. It's like he's going to do the thing with PSs. A directive that principal secretaries will be fired if Auditor General establishes audit queries is pushing some of them to consider quitting the public sector before the axe can actually fall on them. We'll have to do what and see? Wait and see. Mbadinomics. Will he thrive? John Mbadi has been one of the fiercest critics of Ruto's government's handling of the economy. The shoe is on the other foot. Will he introduce policies that will stem the tide? C'est la question. A rough ride for Malkia at the Olympics. Yeah, it was a tough match that they played yesterday.
They played well, though.
They played well. They lost in 3. They put up a good fight. They did.
Played well.
Let's see. They did. They
Well,
played
there were
well.
moments when they were actually winning well, and let me tell you, they played well. If you watch the game, they played well. It's just that Brazil was a better team.
Brazil was a better team
It's
yesterday.
not
That's for
complicated.
sure. That's for sure.
But they played very well.
Yeah.
The sets were 25-14, 25-13, 25-12. Okay.
Straight sets to Brazil. Let's see what happens in the next round. They've got to, in order to stay, they have to win their next match.
This one we're going to win. Is that one?
Let's see. It
Who
all
are playing
depends.
next?
There's
Poland. Poland tomorrow.
Poland, remember, beat
Brazil.
No. Poland beat Japan yesterday.
Brazil are a bit difficult to beat.
There's
those fellows, those people.
Ranked number 2 is the number 2 team in the world.
Yes,
so let's see.
Joke.
But the Italians and the Turkey team are doing some fantastic things as well. Let's see what happens in the second round going into today. On the front page of The Nation, revealed 54 billion shillings Ruto budget waste. Oh, more daddy. Why are you counting this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 54 billion.
When you read the details, you'll be gobstopped. You wonder, Kwani.
An analysis of government expenditure reveals at least 54 billion shillings wastage spending, explained President William Ruto's directive to state agencies to slash huge allocations to hospitality, travel, confidential kitties, and overlapping roles. Can I just tell you that on hospitality, they spent 3,793,593,207.
Okay.
Yes.
Fuel and lubricants, 980.
Sorry.
Wait. Sorry.
Ni mafuta ya gari.
Mafuta ya gari sile ya nini ya gari ingine. Hey! Wow. Sorry. 980 million 92,262. Yani mafuta 980 million.
Na lubricants.
Yuko ndani. Literally.
Okay.
So, the next one is interesting as well. Servicing vehicles. Where? 358,562,922.
Guess wait. For servicing vehicles?
Yeah.
For the whole country?
That's right. The country? No.
You know that is a lot of money, just so that you understand. Eh?
It's just a couple of ministries.
It's just a few ministries. It's not everybody.
It doesn't matter. Do you know that?
Domestic and foreign travel, 14 billion 24,667,119.
When you spend that sort of money repairing cars, you just buy new ones instead.
No, hii ni kusafiri. Sasa flying out inside outside like that. Other operating expenses come to 32 billion. You decide what other operating expenses are. That's up to you. 32 billion, 60 million, 200,553. And then others is 2 billion, 815 million, 396,271. All right.
Okay.
Excusez-moi. KRA allowed D candidates into flawed job interviews. The Kenya Revenue Authority interviewed academic failures for revenue service assistant positions it filled last year in what has exposed more weaknesses in the exercise that has been quashed by the High Court for being unconstitutional. Okay. 2 times lucky for a terror attack survivor. Peter Moore narrowly escaped death in the 1998 bomb blast in Nairobi and the September 11th, 2001 US attack. He was in the vicinity of the places where the 2 raids took place a few minutes before they happened. My goodness. The president, during the town hall in Mombasa the other day, said that protesters who are missing, people should come forward. Well, there are more. Franklin Odwari went missing on the 17th of July during the anti-government protests in Nairobi, only to be found dead in a toilet. It continues. Uphill task for CS nominees amid objections.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the Business Daily, insurers hit as protests add to losses from recent floods. So this story is talking about insurance companies facing a fresh surge in claims as businesses and property owners assess loss and damage from vandalism and looting that accompanied anti-government protests, coming on the heels of flooding that left underwriters with a bill of at least 3.15 billion shillings. Moody's has downgraded KCB Equity and Corp Bank rating on debt risk. Remember Moody's downgraded Kenya as a country.
Yeah.
Now, because these banks have some serious government securities that they've taken, then they are also then at risk. If we are downgrading the Kenya because we are not sure it can pay its debts, some of the people who have lent it are KCB Equity Corp Bank, some heavy lending. Government debt securities by the banking sector in trillion shillings. In 2023, 1.853 trillion shillings trillion shillings lent to government by commercial banks in Kenya. Okay? So Moody's Ratings has downgraded the ratings of KCB Bank Kenya, Equity Bank Kenya, and Cooperative Bank of Kenya, citing weakened credit profile by the government. The bank's high sovereign exposure, mainly in the form of government debt securities held as part of their liquid assets, renders the bank's capital, profitability and liquidity vulnerable to a sovereign stress event. So in the event the government of Kenya is not able to raise enough money to pay back these bonds and bills in good time, who's exposed? The banks, the lenders. So the banks, therefore, are holding what Moody's considers wet paper. City?
Yes.
Tuambie hiyo star.
Yes, that day when you have a free copy.
It's free.
Yes. Top right-hand corner until green is free copy of the Star and My Gov. But I'm a bit disturbed by the paper today, this paper.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just go to how Ruto-Raila pact will weaken accountability. Yes, if we're to go by just the immediate former government of President Uhuru, that handshake didn't serve the Wananchi well. No. Many things seem to have passed under the radar simply because they seem to be a handshake. But I thought handshake doesn't mean you just let the thing slide.
In Kenya, it does.
Well, then, yes, then this story clearly has a foot to stand on. Malnourished. Hunger levels in Kenya stubbornly high, UN, meaning people who are going hungry on a daily basis. The numbers are increasing. Hungry meaning they don't have food. Not hungry that there's food and they don't want to eat. No. There is no food.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
Yeah, not little food. No food. This is according to the UN. Volatile market. Shortage of day-old chicks hits poultry farmers hard. Okay. So if day-old chicks are not available in plenty, it means we can look forward to a time when there will be no grown-up chickens.
Yeah.
Okay.
The shortage of day-old chicks.
Yes. This story is on page 16.
Tell us that story. I mean, what happened? The hatcheries are closed down or what?
I need.
Or what?
This one is important. That
Soma alafu wacha Ndu atupatie traffic and then we'll give us that story. It's 26 minutes to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, we're not seeing too much happening on the streets this morning. We're just going to start now to see a little bit of a hold-up as you come in on the Thika Superhighway right around the Pangani underpass. There is traffic coming in from Garden City Mall, and we're seeing that build-up already starting to happen as you get towards that Allsops Junction. All of this on the Thika Superhighway. Also, we're looking at a little bit of traffic starting to form on Jogo Road heading out towards the city, and it'll pile up for some time as you get through towards Landis. Will not be too crazy, though. On the Eastern Bypass, there's some traffic then heading towards Outer Ring, and that will pack up as you then get towards North Airport Road. Apart from that, still early pickings. Let's see what happens as we get into it. We'll talk in the meantime on SpiceFM KE on X, #The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So the government is overspending on lubricants. Kere is going for D, and City, you're telling us there's a shortage of chicks.
You did not. Oh my God. I actually want to shake your hand because that was brilliant.
What?
Well done. I know what you're doing. I see right through you.
Shortage of chicks, man.
Well done. Thank you.
And day old.
Day old.
Spring.
Twende basi.
Jeez.
Shida hapa in summary ni kwamba everything around chicken, eggs, chicks, price has gone.
What?
It's expensive.
So feeds
expensive. Everything around it expensive. So people are afraid to buy day old chicks. So those who hatch them now are saying, iko shida. Bei imepanda. It's expensive.
So it's expensive to actually hatch eggs now.
It is very expensive.
Because that's what we're talking about.
Yes, it is expensive. All around, everything about it. Which means kuku going to be expensive. Eggs going to be expensive.
Okay, I'll read the story.
Let me read the story. Poultry farmers are grappling with a significant shortage of day-old chicks. Joseph Karuri, chairman of the Association of Kenya Feed Manufacturers, said farmers face difficulties in buying chicks. This has worsened challenges in the operations, threatening to drive up market prices of eggs. There's a looming shortage of day-old chicks, he said, that may lead to higher egg prices in the market. Karuri said. He added that the situation has caused a near 6-month delay from the time of booking to receiving the stock.
Mm-hmm.
Karuri explained that since COVID-19, the purchasing power of many farmers decreased, leading breeders to reduce production due to lack of market. This is not just a Kenyan problem, it's a global issue.
Allah.
Well, that's what he's saying. Where he's gotten this information from is a different matter, but let me just read.
Allah.
But all is not lost. As the process is now slowly picking up, it goes to take some time, but within a year, meaning a year from the time now I'm reading this story to you, it will have stabilized. Zachary Munyambu, a poultry farmer in Ngoyewa and Thika, Kiambu County, emphasized the difficulty and high cost of acquiring the chicks. A day-old chick for layers is selling at 140 shillings, and it is moved to 170 each. It was 140, now it's 170. It means it's 200.
What?
It's a lot of money, man. Munyambu, who chairs the Kiambu Poultry Farmers Cooperative Society, added that cost of production remains high due to expensive feed. So it's expensive all round. Feed expensive. Nini expensive. Nini expensive. So, ini shida.
Okay.
Farmers initially spent something like 650 per chick before it.
Just to grow a chick from day old to
to
market.
Yes. Now it's costing
650 bob.
Yes.
Now it's costing
720.
Voila.
But that has also now increased. That's what it was. That was the range. 657. Now we're at 850 and 900.
Gonna buy a sock.
Now you tell me how much that chicken going to cost you?
It's going to come up now. It's quite some.
So it's more. Okay. My goodness.
No,
so why is it a global problem?
No, that one he just said. He didn't justify it. See, Chief, you are being asked.
It's a global problem.
It's a global problem. When Kenya has a problem, it's a global problem. You haven't realized that.
Well, yeah.
But it is very possible also, when you bring in COVID, the mention of COVID is what makes it global, because COVID disrupted very many things on this planet.
So these are the effects of the supply chain disruptions of 2 years ago.
Yes, according to them. And also, remember that what is not in this discussion is why the price of things are actually high in this country. The volatility of the shilling against the dollar, oil prices, government-to-government deals, which were and then at the same time never were. You know, these sort of things. Yes. It's a myriad of things. But again, this is Kenya. If it wasn't Kenya, you wouldn't have this myriad of things affecting. Yes. Can you imagine? Does a chick know that these are the things that are actually at the heart of their problem?
If they knew, wouldn't it be better?
Yes, exactly. Because part of this problem also has to do with the lubricants.
Can I tell you that story while we're
Tell
at
us
it?
that story.
50
50 what?
4 billion. My tongue got in the way. 54 billion waste that Ruto needs to cut from budgets. Let's tell you where that money is coming from or going to. In an analysis of government expenditure, it reveals that 54 billion shillings goes towards wasted expenditure, even as President William Ruto directs state agencies to slash huge allocations to hospitality, travel, confidential kitties, and overlapping roles. After the president assumed office in 2022, he set out to restructure State House in line with his campaign promises and introduced 2 new departments, the Office of the Council of Economic Affairs and the Office of Economic Transformation. Now, Dr. David Ndu was appointed chairperson of the Council of Economic Advisors, while Augustine Cheriot was tapped to lead the Office of Economic Transformation.
They're different offices?
Yes,
I thought
please.
they were in the same office.
Apparently not.
So Ndi leads the Council of Economic Advisors.
While Cheriot is leading the Office of Economic Transformation.
Okay, those
Got
are
it so
different.
far?
Clearly, yeah, they're different.
Okay.
They're very different.
Very different.
One is economic advisor, the other one is economic transformation. Okay.
The 2 departments tasked with helping President Ruto bring to reality his bottom-up economic transformation agenda have over the years received funding of nearly 1 billion shillings, despite having similar functions.
Okay.
In 2013, into the 2023-2024 financial year, Dr. Ndu's team was initially allocated 182 million shillings, while Chariot's office got 323, because, transformation is more than advisory.
Yeah.
You get it?
Yeah.
Both departments could
One
come...
has an executive function, the other one is just talk.
Right. Just
and
advising.
Prepare papers.
Right.
Okay.
Both departments could now come under scrutiny as President Ruto looks to slash 177 billion from his initial budget plan following nationwide anti-tax protests that have backed the head of state into a corner in the past month. Now, State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed was yet to respond to the queries on the duplication of functions by the two offices by the time of publication, but that's okay. As National Treasury and National Assembly rebuild Kenya's fiscal plans for the 2024-2025 financial year, they face the acid test in aligning the new budget with President Ruto's directive to cut wastage and extravagance. So, the budget books from this current year, rather this just past one, looked at the extravagance and wastage that played a role in the protests that we saw. It would appear that 54 billion shillings goes to fund 8 wastage points that President Ruto has now isolated for massive cuts in the new budget, according to this review.
So they're already being cut?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is what is going to happen.
So the 54 was previous. Okay.
In the budget books, looking at spending on domestic and foreign travel, purchase of vehicles, servicing of vehicles, fuel and lubricants, hospitality, supplies and services, office furniture, training expenses, and votes listed as other operating expenses. Now, in that past year, Ruto's two workstations, State House and the Executive Office of the President, burned through 1.6 million litres of fuel and lubricants as he and his team traversed the country.
1.6 B.
1.6
M.
million litres.
Million litres.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the math. If a litre... Does State House buy this fuel at the same cost as the rest of Kenyans? Okay, do the math. At the same time, the Interior Ministry, which includes the National Police Service and local administration, got a 179 million allocation specifically for fuel and lubricants. This fuel and lubricants that everybody's buying.
Wait a minute.
I say it again?
Yeah, say again.
At the same time, the Interior Ministry, which includes the National Police Service and local administration, got a 179 million shilling allocation for fuel and
selling
lubricants.
Selling 179 million.
Yeah.
How much was State House selling fuel spend?
That's
in the other thing?
1.6 times. How much is fuel?
The State House was 319 million shillings on fuel alone. Fuel spend for that financial year. 319 million shillings.
Now, an entire ministry under which the police are ensconced
is 179
million.
So not just police. So there's the entire police service.
Right.
There's the entire Ngaos. From the regional commissioner all the way to the chief.
Yeah.
All those officers
spent
their fuel 179.
Is half
State House, 319.
Yeah.
State House doesn't have more cars than police.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't have more cars than all the regional
doesn't even have
commissioners
more
and chiefs
staff. People, actual human beings on the beat. It doesn't have as many as the police.
The president didn't do much domestic travel last year.
Most of his travel was external.
And by the way, people who are at State House tend to stay at State House.
Innit?
Yeah, when they leave, they go home.
Can I tell you more? This means that moving the president and the teams under his offices cost 2 times that of security agencies going by the specific allocations. However, the Interior Ministry and other institutions could still have purchased fuel under their other operating expenses, quote unquote. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's office got a 141 million shilling allocation for fuel and lubricants. Is it different from these other guys?
Gachagua is 141 million.
Yeah. Just 38 million shillings shy of the entire Ministry of Interior. Now, the specific allocations to fuel and lubricants in the budget books totaled 980 million shillings. The actual spend was higher, as several institutions bought the product using their operating expenses budget.
Fuel alone, Gachagwa's office spent 141 million shillings.
Yes, they did.
In a year.
Also, we're told.
What? Okay.
Now, State House and the Executive Office of the President were allocated 1.275 billion shillings for hospitality supplies and services. So if you go to State House, you're going to have a cuppa, you know, it comes under that. You're going to have a biscuit or something. They'll give it to you under
Kunywa
that.
kashai. Wajua kale niko na baridi.
Bado uko hapa, I wanted to kule lunch. Evil. That money comes from there.
Wajua hapa kale niko baridi sana.
Acha tukunywe chai.
Kunywa kashai.
Hata kuna kanini kadhamos hapo. Bora tu imejaa. We relax, fanya kazi.
Kona guashe.
Are we together?
What do you mean? Were we building a tea factory?
Nadoma.
Nadoma.
And guashe.
Wajua
It's
umetoka
healthier
bali.
than samosa.
Wajua umetoka bali.
Sambusa.
No.
Toka
Actually, guashe and duma.
It's healthier than sambusa.
Then you throw in like a banana.
Kwisha wewe.
Breakfast complete.
Total.
Yes.
I continue?
Yes.
Freeze. Now, the entire government, get this. I've just told you about State House and the Executive Office of the President. The entire government was allocated 6 billion for hospitality. This means that President Ruto's stations accounted for 21%, nearly a quarter of the entire government's luxury spending. Because this is luxury, you can do without it. You know?
Wow.
State House was allocated 885 million shillings for hospitality supplies and services, while the Executive Office of the President received 390 millions. The Professor Kithure Kindiki-led ministry was second in luxury spending with 790 million shillings allocated, while Gachagwa's office was third with 394 million. Fuel,
hospitality.
again.
What does hospitality actually?
Si umekuja ni miku hospital.
Hospitality, everything. You know,
Give
guests
you
come.
tea.
So we hosted the king last year.
Things like
Hospitality.
that.
That's hospitality.
Yes, it is.
And all these heads of states who came.
When they
And
come,
they've
you
been
buy
many.
lunch.
And we've had several.
Right.
And a couple of state visits and state dinners
Yes.
and luncheons.
Yes.
Okay, I can see that.
Then you have
But that is in State House, it's not in Karen.
No. This is State House and the
Okay.
Executive Office of the President. Fuel and hospitality spending are just the tip of the iceberg. As the National Assembly searches every book and nook and cranny to abide by President Ruto's directive on budget cuts. Specific allocations for servicing vehicles in the books was 358 million, but many institutions spent more under their operating expenses budget. It goes on and on and on. And they're just seeing where they want to cut all of this money because it's some cray stuff going here. Yeah.
So these ones are now been earmarked for cuts.
Yep.
It will be interesting to actually see the final recommendation of Dende Nyoro's Budget and Appropriations Committee on what the supplementary budget proposed and what now the cut would be. I mean, what would it be? So if we say that we've reduced fuel spend, if you say you've reduced hospitality, so for example, the Ministry of Agriculture had 16 million shillings on hospitality. So Medhoka was hosting who?
Those people who come to benchmark, like Nigeria, we came to benchmark how you people grow this thing to feed dairy cows.
The Senate had an 18 million shillings budget on hospitality, and the Youth Affairs Ministry had a 17.79 million shillings budget on hospitality. The Attorney General's office had 19 million shillings budget on hospitality. 19 million for the Attorney General office, 18 million for the Senate.
Senate.
Unajua Senate hospitality.
17 million.
18
million.
0.5.
Million. Just in case you were confused.
The Ministry of Lands, 22 million shillings on hospitality.
You know,
the Ministry of Health, 28 million shillings. You see, when the doctors are on strike, wanakuja hapo for meeting, chai.
Wanakunywa chai.
Kesho ni clinical officer wanakuja for meeting negotiations, chai.
See,
the other day ni nurses wanakuja chai. Interns wanakuja chai.
This must be some really special tea.
It costs a lot, man.
Cinnamon, cardamom.
You know, this austerity
ginger,
that we keep speaking of.
Tangawus.
Leather, honey.
Yes. This hospitality. This austerity that we keep speaking of. I think we are just going to have to maintain it as a subject that we will be studying. Because it's not going to happen in this country. Everything about that, what you've just read, Ndu, speaks to how people are sent to positions of leadership and they think and believe that it is their calling to just spend public money wantonly. Just spend.
Yes, no.
It's a lot of money that you're talking about there.
Boss, by the time you spent 1 million shillings on a cup of tea.
No, by the time you spend
goodness sake.
1,000 shillings on food,
Hey, what are we talking
it
about?
is a lot of food.
This is interesting. Nimrod has just put a comment here and said, no one should blame the IMF and World Bank. Corruption is part of Kenyan culture forever and ever. And that's actually true. When you talk about certain things that you have to go out and borrow money, and you're looking at what is happening in the country at the minute, you've got to ask a question or two like, come on, guys, is it absolutely necessary? How many vehicles are bought every year? Why? Fuel and lubricants, man. Fuel and lubricants.
Too much. Wait, City, it's too cold, but Nazima Yokitu. You see, why is it still on?
Openje did like that.
Aye, surely. Tunaongeleshana hivi.
Unataka kuaje?
Listen, when it comes to marriage and divorce, we had a divorce conversation last week with a lawyer, right? Kenyans mostly walk away from marriages owing to cruelty, adultery, abuse, and sometimes irreconcilable differences. But there's a case before the High Court that is adding food to the list of reasons that Kenyans want to divorce. A bliss between two lovebirds ended after a man who's codenamed for this case MTM accused his wife, codenamed SNM, of refusing to make him breakfast. The case indicates that SNM, a working woman, and from his side, MTM told the court that she had left for work without making a morning meal or breakfast for him. The case between MTM and SNM opens the floor for debate on expectations of men and women in the modern day working marriage. The traditional women's chores were cooking, washing, cleaning, raising children. However, with technology and industrialization, the modern way woman wears suits and sits in corner offices just like the men. In this case, MTM stated in court that NSM left him to feed on spaghetti. He said that she asked him to get out of her house, which he did and never returned. MTM then filed a case on October 1st, 2018 to divorce him. The two had a child in 1997, the same year that they married. Nevertheless, they confirmed that they had been apart for almost 30 years. On the other hand, SNM told the court that she had raised their child alone. According to her, MTM rushed her through a wedding for his own gain, claiming the man was unavailable from the beginning. The other ground that MTM tried on was cruelty. He argued that it was cruel to fail to cook for him. At the same time, he alleged that in 2000, his wife was disrespectful and abusive. The man also said that he was asked to leave the matrimonial home that same year. The woman stated that he went to live at his home. No, MTM is the man. He said that he went to live at his home in Nyeri and Kare. According to him, the marriage had hit the rocks as he went to his parents-in-law seeking to resolve the issues between him and the woman, but they could not resolve anything. They separated in 2001. SNM, on the other hand, also filed our papers in support of ending the marriage. Justice Gekonyo observed that the issues raised by the two could not be swept under the carpet. According to him, SNM and MTM carried strong views about each other. The judge was of the opinion that there is evidence that the estranged couple's differences could lead to mental anguish. He said that the court could not wait for either of them to be injured to call off the marriage, and observed that none of the two wanted to mend fences. From these, the marriage only exists in name and paper, a shell devoid of life or impetus of a marriage. Parties have lost all hope of being salvaged. An order of dissolution of marriage ought to be granted, said the judge. Although he allowed the dissolution of the marriage, he gave a short-term order known as a decree nisi in the legal world. The judge held to the view that some embers of love could rekindle between the two before he slams the gravel to completely seal their love. So he's like, you know, mnaweza toka hapa nje muangaliane, mpendane. I'm prepared to grant you, but I'm giving you one last chance. Never give up on love.
Okay, or spaghetti.
Oh, spaghetti. Spaghetti.
Hey.
You know that one?
Spaghetti.
At the time, spaghetti is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
You have a lot more problems
The
than spaghetti.
problems had been many.
She left him no breakfast. The guy wakes up, he just has to make spaghetti.
Why didn't he cook the breakfast himself?
But there was nothing. There was only spaghetti. You're shaking his hand. That he should have cooked his breakfast.
Yes.
Is his hand broken?
So he came and asked, so now what happened? So like, toka hata kwa hii nyumba. He left.
The woman chased him.
Yes.
You're in the woman's house.
No, they're in their matrimonial home.
And she chased him from the
She
matrimonial
told him,
home.
get out of this house.
In this country, that happens.
Just get out of this
Just
house.
wait a moment.
Then he also left.
Boss, sasa kama hata chakula upewi.
No. Can't he cook?
There's a song. Akufukuzae, hakwambii toka, utaona mambo yanabadilika. Just so. Spaghetti is the only thing you find in the pantry.
My friend, uvivu ni adui mkubwa kwa ujenzi wa taifa.
I don't know what you're saying.
Okay, as we go to the top of the hour, there's a full-page advertisement taken out by the government of Kenya, which is issuing a status report paper and assurance statement on the privately initiated proposal for Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Nairobi. This statement is signed by His Excellency Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, Prime Cabinet Secretary and Acting Cabinet Secretary for all ministries. So he says, yes. There has been a need to upgrade the JKIA for many years, decades now. We've been talking about upgrading that airport. We haven't gotten there. Okay? So, we have a law called a Public-Private Partnership Act. Okay? It allows for a private entity to actually initiate and bring a proposal. This is what happened with a privately initiated proposal from Adani Airport Holdings of India. They received it in March 2024. Under the law, the private investors are allowed to submit PIPs to invest in the national infrastructure. They said this proposal has just been received. Now, it will have to go through all these other requisite processes, reviews, negotiations in compliance with the law. It will have to go through public participation. The Treasury has to look at it. Parliament, if need be, has to go and approve it. So none of that has happened. All we have is a proposal on our desk. That's all we have so far.
Backtracking.
And we want to assure the country that we emphasize that JKIA remains a strategic national asset and is not up for sale. Are we together? It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The Kenyan government has pledged full transparency and guaranteed job security as it considers a potential public-private partnership with India's Adani Airport Holdings to modernize Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, in a comprehensive status report, emphasized that the $2 billion proposal will undergo rigorous scrutiny and adhere strictly to legal protocols while assuring that JKIA remains a strategic national asset that is not for sale. JKIA, constructed in 1978, handled over 8.6 million passengers last year, surpassing its 7.5 million annual capacity. Recent incidents, including leaking roofs and power outages, have highlighted the pressing need for upgrades. Busia Senator Okia Omtata wants the police officers who used excessive force against the protesters to be taken strict legal action. According to Omtata, many protesters lost their lives and others are suffering from gunshot wounds due to the police using excessive force during the protests of the Gen Z movement between June and July this year. Activist Omtata's statement comes at a time when President William Ruto has promised that protesters injured by police officers will get justice.
The unit is also mandated to receive and investigate complaints against the police from the Independent Police Oversight Authority and the general public. Section 13(6) of the Prevention of Torture Act of 2022 states categorically that where an allegation of torture is made in respect of a police officer, The procedures for investigation provided for under Section 87 of the National Police Service Act, Cap 84, and Sections 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 of the Police Oversighting Authority, Cap 86, shall apply. Also, rogue police officers, mostly hooded and in civilian dressing, have, contrary to the law, targeted and snatched many people off the streets or from their homes, and some abductees have turned up dead or maimed and or badly traumatized.
And it's another hard day for patients who will be seeking services at Embu Level 5 Hospital and other government health facilities in the county as they remain unavailable after health workers went on strike, demanding that the county government implements their long-ignored CBA. The workers say some of the issues they want addressed are employment on permanent contract as well as promotions.
Now we are here to say that we don't want discrimination in Embu County. We are all health workers in Embu County. We do the same work. So we need everybody to be considered because some people have stagnated in one job group for over 10 years, for over 7 years. Some nurses are even retiring at job group 8 and K. Other health workers the same.
County Clinical Officers Secretary General Alois Njoka has vowed that they'll continue to boycott work until their demands are addressed. This strike comes a week after the Public Service Board in Embu County announced job vacancies in the health sector, an issue that has contributed to the anger of those workers who want to be hired on permanent contract.
Sisi tuko hapa sababu hatukuelewana ni kanda moja peke yake ya medical officers itakuwa promotion. Tulikuwa kila kanda ipewe promotion. Tulikuwa pia tena tumeelewana watu wale wako kwa contract wapewe permanent admission hapo kwanza. Lakini sasa wametangaza permanent admission hapo kutoka nje. Kumaanisha ile yako kwa kandarasi duni hapa ndani hatapata hiyo kazi. Na tunasema hiyo ni mipangilio ya Public Service Board kumaanisha iko na very high level ya corruption. Tumeamua hiyo sababu ni madharau. Tumekuja kukomesha dharau. Reject Public Service Board.
And finally, the journey has begun for opposition leader Raila Odinga, who plans to win the election to be the chairperson of the African Union Commission after the Kenyan government officially submitted his documents. Led by Foreign Affairs Minister PS, that is Korir Sing'oei, the Kenyan delegation has presented the documents to the head of the Eastern Zone, Damaraj Busquets, and the Office of the Legal Counsel of the African Union in Addis Ababa. According to Sing'oei, Raila's priorities in the post of AU will include African cooperation and infrastructure development, economic reforms, strengthening intra-African businesses, financial freedom, gender equality, as well as agricultural transformation. That's the Newswire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
All right, the Thika Superhighway traffic is thick and it's coming in onto Survey through towards that junction in the road between Moranga Road and Wangari Maathai. Traffic all the way through to the Pangani underpass. Let's take a look before that, and not much happening. Coming all the way from Githurai, you're free, and the service lanes are looking good as well. You want to use those. Let's look at Ngong Road, where traffic just there at the junction that gets into the city is probably where you see the most of it. Coming in from Kikuyu Road and Naivasha Road, and then Ngong Road itself, there's some traffic there. Southern Bypass looks good. Jogo Road, on the other hand, is traffic in and outbound. A crazy thing. It's starting to build up on the Eastern Bypass, coming in from that Roy interchange, and it's going to be busy all the way through towards North Airport Road and then Cabanas. Kangunda Road has been busy off the jump this morning, and we're likely to see that traffic pick up even as we go ahead. Cabanas looks like a mess already, so traffic looks like it's going to be a thing this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Thank you very much for choosing this as the way to start your day. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the agenda setter on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook, on TikTok, on X, Radio Garden, everywhere. From the Standard Group Center on Mombasa Road to the world, Karibu Sana. Britam is reminding you, my friend, don't just put money where. No. Put money where money can grow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's two options for you, and it's
they've
great
got
stuff.
trees.
What? All right. The Britain Money Market Fund puts your money in the short to medium term and watch your money grow at 13.5% per year. Fantastic stuff. So if you're in a more of a long-term kind of thing, at 14%, and that's a smart yield account. So you can do that. Get onto the website, ke.britam.com, and it'll give you all the information about what you need to do to make sure that your money can actually grow. Under the mattress, it will not. In a fund like this, it will, absolutely. And we're also saying today, SpiceFM, what you need to do. Fund your account with 1,000 shillings, or if you open up a new account, fund it with 1,000 shillings. Next step, take a screenshot of that payment that you've made. And then number 3, DM us across our socials, SpiceFM KE, and you could win 5,000 shillings today. I'm going to repeat it. Fund your account with 1,000 bob. Take a screenshot of that payment. DM us, SpiceFM KE, across platforms. You could win 5,000 shillings today.
Leo.
Today.
Leo.
Oui.
City, if you were to write the word smart and you were to send it to Britain, what's the number? As an SMS.
Just give me 1 second. In fact, give me 3 seconds.
1, 2, 3.
21778.
21778.
Yes.
That's the short code. Send that message. Write the word smart. Don't write at your name.
Don't write your name, please.
Mambo.
Sasa.
Yes, VP.
Miaje. Hashtag RMG.
Yes. Hapa kwetu tuko sawa. Yes, smart only.
Smart.
21778. That's it.
Bas. Mambo iko namna hiyo. Sindio?
Mambo iko smart.
All right. So our next conversation is going to be on the broad-based government that the president has announced, and the ministers are about to be vetted. There's a story today that says, after the CSs, the president now will head to the PSs. Okay. So there's still broadening of the government. Sawa?
No.
Sawa?
It's not sawa. Exactly not sawa.
It's not sawa that you broaden the government.
No, it's not sawa. The broadening of the government, yes, is important, everything that they're saying, but it can't take center stage. When I'm looking at the stance, bang in the middle of the paper, we're saying Ruto to slash PS slots and appoint Raila allies. At the same time, there are pictures of young men and women. There are 8 of them who haven't been found. Some people don't know where they are. Some have died. Nah, it's not okay.
It's not okay?
No, it's definitely not okay.
There's a lot that's happening.
Eric, young people were shot, they died. And somehow this is not something that is holding our attention, and it's not the focus of our attention. As PSS, so what? What do these people actually do apart from spending money? Then we're told CSS. Then we're told ODM has joined. Okay, we've got it. They've joined. But these are the things. These are the human beings who are citizens of this country.
In the meantime.
Yes. They can't be by the way. Nonetheless.
That's a good point to introduce our next guests. Nerima Wakojiwa is the Executive Director of Siasa Place. Good morning, Nerima.
Morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I was okay until City made me feel. But it's true. It's true. A lot of young people have passed on.
Yep.
And it's a very difficult period. So I wouldn't say good morning, it's a difficult morning.
It's still a sad morning.
For the many days and weeks we continue to live in this country.
Yep.
Especially someone who advocates for young people.
Yep.
It's a dark period.
There are many who are missing. The Nation today has a story of a young man who went missing for a couple of days and then he was found dead very far from where he was last reported seen. Franklin Ondwari, a man who went missing on the 17th of July during the anti-government protest in Nairobi County, was found dead in a toilet a day after the Nation published a story highlighting his family's predicament. The body of the University of Nairobi student, which will be buried tomorrow, was found hanging inside an abandoned toilet in Ngumo Estate. You know where Ngumo is?
Yes.
Okay. Where is Ngumo City, for those who don't know Nairobi?
Well, if you know the roundabout where, or if you're coming up Raila Odinga Way, okay, if you know of Kenyatta Market, I'm giving you the general geographical area. If you know of City Mortuary, behind this, Ngumo.
Okay.
Okay, if you know there's also a golf club called Royal Golf Club, that area is called Ngumo.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is where he was found, in an abandoned toilet, hanging in an abandoned toilet in Ngumo Estate. On the day he went missing, Ondwari communicated to his family members, telling them that he had been arrested and was at Central Police Station in Nairobi. Where is Central Police Station?
Central Police Station is next to the University of Nairobi.
In the CBD.
Yes, you can't get more CBD than that. If you don't know, there's a place called Norfolk.
It's a long university way.
It is bang in the middle of town.
Okay.
Yes.
Miss Daylin Sabina, the mother of the deceased, in an earlier interview with The Nation, said that when she was informed that her son had been arrested, she called him, but the phone was answered by someone who identified himself as an officer. She said the person informed her that mahabusu haruhusiwi kuwa na simu. That is, an inmate is not allowed to use a phone. A post-mortem exam on his body, an exercise for which the family picked an independent pathologist, revealed that he had died of strangulation. The Nation is in possession of photos that were taken from where his body was found. In the pictures, his body is seen in a standing position inside the disused, blocked toilet. Sabina said that when she called her son's phone and an officer picked up, one of his friends reached out to the family and informed them that the police were asking for 3,000 shillings to free Ondwari. She said the amount was sent to his M-Pesa number. Edith Nyangarisa, Ondwari's sister, said she spoke to her brother on the day he went missing. We spoke and he informed me that he had already secured his freedom and would call me once he arrives home. Emmanuel Inyega, a close friend of Ondwari, said that upon his release, Ondwari went to a friend's shop along Kirinyaga Road and he left his phone charging there. I went to the police station and was informed that he had been released. Even when he went silent, I went back to the same station, but he was not there. This is Inyega. For 2 weeks, the family of the deceased kept searching for him in various places, including police stations, mortuaries within the city and various hospitals, in vain. The matter was reported to the Kasarani police station and there was an OB number that was given. Onchori was last with his mother in their home in Keumbu, Kisii County in December 2023. So then, he is found hanging dead at a toilet in Ngumo Estate. There's another story of a lady called Purity Nyeri who went missing and they are still wondering whether indeed she has been found or not. Nyeri's mother, Ruth Nduta, who resides in Gatanga sub-county, Murang'a, yesterday told the Nation that a senior officer had informed them that she had been found. We were told that she had been found and she was doing well, but since then, it's now 5 days, we have not seen her. Nyeri went missing on July 1st when her mother visited Thika Technical Institute where she was studying. Hours later, the mother called, but she hung up her phone, never to be heard from again. Her father, Stephen Getao, told the Nation on the day that she went missing, protests were reported in different parts of the country and it remains unclear whether she was affected. Meanwhile, Shelmith Nyawera Njiro, a woman who went missing on the 17th of July, was found in Uganda in an incident that the family says it is not comfortable to reveal much about. However, family sources said that on that fateful evening, Nyawera was preparing to head to work when she was approached by two men who picked her up. The family revealed that the last place her phone signal was detected was in Malaba, Busia County. where money was withdrawn from her phone. The people who abducted her were wearing masks and armed. It's due to the sensitivity of this matter that the family does not want to talk about it publicly. The source says that once in Uganda, the two men threw her out of the car they were in and warned her never to return to Kenya. Nyawera sought refuge in a Catholic church near the place that she was abandoned and was linked to a police station in Uganda. This and many other stories of people who've gone missing. Some have been found, some have been found dead, and others are still missing. City, give us the day's proverb.
Yes. Where there is peace, a billock, meaning a sickle, can be used to shave your beard or cut your hair.
Where there is peace, a billock can be used to shave your beard or cut your hair. Again, a billock is a what?
Sickle.
A sickle is a?
Well, it is a tool for harvesting wheat, rice, circular shaped. Yes. Very sharp, though.
Very sharp.
Oh, extremely sharp.
So it's just used to basically just cut them.
Yes, cut. You round it off and then you tug and it cuts through.
Okay.
Yes.
Nerima, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
I don't think I'm going to get it right. I always struggle with these proverbs, man.
Another day.
Nerima,
struggle.
I struggle with these things.
You don't have to get it right.
It's my interpretation of
Your
it.
interpretation is fine.
Okay.
Yes.
My interpretation of it, where there's peace, there's safety, because a sickle is a dangerous tool. And I think of it, especially in our context, I think of it as a machete. It is used. It can be used to behead, and in our context, violence. And after even what you've just read, it's very difficult to feel peaceful as a young person or safe in this country right now. You're afraid that masked, armed, technically officers, but they are being hidden by the state, can come pick you and dump you wherever they feel. Yet the main conversation of this country is political power, and life means nothing. So that's my interpretation.
It's a good interpretation.
Apt.
It's very appropriate.
Yeah.
Nerima, as recently as Sunday, the president spoke in Mombasa at a town hall, and he said, in my government, in my administration, there will be no disappearance of Kenyans. And if there's any Kenyan who has disappeared, he'd like people to report that to the police. And he said, his own words, he will be happy to address the issue.
So the president says many things. I actually didn't watch that town hall for many reasons. Also just tired of the rhetoric. And it's difficult to talk about if anyone's missing, yet the front pages of our papers have clearly shown that people are missing. I don't think people understand the gravity of where we are. I've known people who have been arrested who've gone missing. The first picture of the star, that's Boniface Ogutu, a comrade in Kisumu. We didn't know where he was for 3 days, just being moved from station to station. And even with Shad, over the weekend, we didn't know if he was at JKIA, we didn't know. So abductions are happening, disappearances are happening. It's our reality right now. So it feels like gaslighting when our president, the symbol of our country, who is supposed to represent unity, represent us, makes it sound like we are living in a fairy tale Kenya, a different Kenya, and it's just make-believe. This is the real life we've been having for the last 4 weeks. And it doesn't look like it's going to slow down. So it's just enough with report and creating this rhetoric. You know, I think he needs to realize that the Kenya he inherited from previous predecessors is a different one. This one, young, yes, access to information more, access to technology even more. So it becomes more difficult to lie. It becomes more difficult to create an impression because they are people who are educated enough to poke through those holes. So I'd say it's enough with the stories. We can see it, it's being reported. There are families who have reported. There's a database online where people are still collecting names. I mean, it's a reality. We need to stop living in this bubble that's not happening.
I've got to ask you these questions in a sequence. To the best of your knowledge, do you know whether the families of the people who go missing actually go to police station to report their kin missing?
They do, but what's the point?
No, do they do that?
Yes, they do. Even
and they
when
obtain OB numbers.
Yes.
Saying that our person has been missing for the last 24 hours.
Yes, that's what you're advised to do.
And they have not appeared in court.
No.
And they have OB numbers. So these, you know for sure that there are people that you personally know who've gone missing, and the reports have been made to the police.
We make reports. We follow due process.
Okay. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights has also documented cases of dead people during the last 6 weeks, and people who have been abducted and reappeared, others who are still missing. When those figures were presented to the president, again, quoting the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, he once again disputed the figures from that institution. This is a state-funded commission whose main mandate is to safeguard the human rights of Kenyans. And the president said, this institution, I've got to call them out because they keep giving false information. And he actually came down with a number of not 60, but he said 42 people have died so far. So is there a possibility that the president is being misled, is being given the wrong information by those that report to him?
We saw inklings of that when Gachagua basically mentioned after the first and second protest.
The Gachagua referring to the deputy president?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, you want me to say deputy president?
No, there are many Gachagua. Even I know a guy called Gachagua.
That one. And he did mention that intel, the president wasn't receiving intel, but that's not my problem. I think there are people who have a role to play and they should play it. And there are institutions where it's their task, mandate, and job to be able to share this information. And what he does every time he comes and disputes information that is factual is break down the very fact of institutionalism. What we are pushing for, any young person or anybody who supports in terms of the idea of the movement, is the Constitution. We are pushing for better systems. We are pushing for accountability. That's the main thing here. It's not anti-government. What we have here is the government is actually becoming the enemy of the people. We are pushing for the Constitution. So it would be, let institutions do their job. That's what they are mandated to do. And that's why these institutions exist. So when they share with you that information, they are normally shadow institutions that can also come and compare. That's fine. If you want to have your own private company to do that, that's fine. But we will not base decisions on hearsay, she say. We need to base decisions on fact that's existing, that has been collected, that we can verify. That's the age that we live in. We don't live in an age where parents or grandparents used to tell a story by a fire and we assume that what's in their memory is factual. That's not the kind of age we live in. And that's what we need to move forward from.
So the harping on the numbers, in my mind, as I think about that, every time a number comes out and it's disputed, for me, I think that obviously one life lost in this manner, or in any manner for that matter, is one life too many. And what we do with harping on the numbers when it's disputed is, okay, so it was 44 and it was not, it was 64 and it wasn't, is that you take away from the integrity of the issue.
Yes.
When we are talking about that people are actually missing.
Yes.
And that people have been abducted. And people have not gone under the rule of law, when it means that if you've arrested me or if you've taken me for a particular issue, you should then present me before a court of law. And I think that issue is what then is not being addressed.
Not at all.
Now, in my mind, when I hear the issues of broad-based government, I think it's myopic to think that it's just people, but it should be issues as well. And so that's why I wanted to pose this question, even as we look at these things. What does a broad-based government encompass to you? And do you think it's the wrong or right way that should be led for, or should be guided into right now?
So when I think of broad-based, I feel that the political class has completely lost the plot. And, you know, at the beginning of this conversation, I mentioned that the youth demographic that the president inherited is completely different from what Uhuru had to deal with or what Kibaki had to deal with. Right now, our president has to create 2 million jobs annually just for young people to survive in this country. 2 million. So you talk about housing, when you talk about it creates employability, when you talk about foreign investment, and you are not supporting local investors to first gain that opportunity, we have a problem. You cannot buy tickets and passports for 1 million young people to be flown out of this country. The solution has to be internal. And the reason why I have a problem with this, really, young people really do not care who sits in those positions. What they care about is whether their contributions is going to have a ripple effect that allows them to survive. It's not about power. It's not about politics. It's about survivability. Young people are looking for opportunities. That's the only thing that connects them across the board. And so as soon as you cut that access, you are going to have a disgruntled youth. And the youth question, and I've been doing this work for almost a decade now, what I've been screaming about is actually happening today. And it's the fact that even when you look at how young people are managed in this country, if you look at the youth ministries, for instance, youth, every time we elect a new president or they're entering a new term, I'm always like, where are they going to put the youth docket? Youth has moved from Youth and ICT, Youth Gender Public Service Commission, Youth Sports and Art. Every time, it's the only ministry that moves around like it's a kiosk that you can just shift. Yet it is the largest population of this country. And why this concerns me is youth is actually devolved. But when you travel to counties, we're in Nairobi County, travel to Kiambu, travel to Machakos, the youth docket is in a completely different office from the next. So it tells you how they manage it at the county level. Sometimes it's youth and agriculture, youth and business. Makueni had its own youth department and youth ministry. Why this is important? Young people are devolved. They are everywhere. But if you deal with young people, like it's a by the way, what happens after years of not engaging and no resource? Kericho County example, there was a youth empowerment fund. That is where a lot of politicians eat a lot of their money. Anything youth empowerment, youth activities, youth mentorship, youth, that's where a lot of money is taken. Then NYS scandal, another example. So when you take majority of the resources and it doesn't get to the majority of population, you can only do that for so long. So that's why I'm saying the president has inherited a different youth. It's a youth that now is larger. It's a youth that now is frustrated. As much as the population, only 10% of it have a university education. 10%. It just needs that small 10% to engage and be concerned about the country's movement to shift an entire country. So back to your broad-based. It doesn't necessarily have to do with tribe. What we're seeing here is kingpins trying to break the country back into its ethnic problem. What the movement brought was unity. And the politicians was like, this is way too scary because we don't know who's leading this movement. We can't have too many people united under the Kenyan flag. This is dangerous. Rather than following what the Constitution has always pushed for, unity. So when you start to divide positions based on personality, based on the ratio of where they come from, you're going to have people who do not understand that docket. We can't have Murkomen in sports because we think he likes to play football, because we watch him support particular teams, or because we think he plays with his kids over the weekend. He's a perfect CS for sports. That's crazy. That's insane that we could actually do that. But in our own companies, we would never do that. I would never hire somebody because I'm like, I really like how they take pictures. They're my communications director. That's insane. But that's actually how our country is being run. And it's like, especially if we look at their tribe, that's even better. They fit perfectly. And if we continue to manage our institutions that way, there will be a definite collapse. If in your own business, you hire the wrong people, and then you mismanage your resource, your company will collapse. It will have to go through bankruptcy. There is no way you can manage that company for more than 3 years at that rate. So why do you think you can run a country that way?
Let's take a break. 27 minutes to 8, Kenya's biggest conversation. Speaking to Nerima Wakaojiwa, who is the executive director of Siasa Place. The youth factor in President Ruto's broad-based government. TVTI will be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
A touch of gold and class is what you need to up your fashion game. Think Twice brand, your fashion partner over 10 years that operates 36 branches across the country, brings you Think Twice Gold in Thindigwa, Kiambu Road on the 27th of this month. Think Twice Gold offers a unique and golden collection of high-end brands, quality and fashion. We will be launching new stylish collection every month, a daily drop in prices to deliver unmatched value to our customers. And also, we will be adding more stock and variety every day. Think Twice Gold. Go bold, go gold.
True friend understands your dreams and aspirations and is there to offer you support in achieving your goals. With a friend like Britam, we offer you the support you need when it comes to saving for that dream home, purchasing property, expanding your business, or saving towards a comfortable retirement. Invest your money in Britam Smart Yield today and start earning returns above 13% per annum. You can start with as little as 1,000 shillings. SMS SMART to 21778. Visit ke.britam.com or visit any Britam branch countrywide to speak to a financial advisor. Britam is your friend for life. Britam Smart Yield funds are invested in the Britam Bond Plus Fund. Britam Asset Managers is regulated by
conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. 14 will be the low and mostly cloudy in Nakuru, currently at 15, and it's 15 and cloudy in Nyeri, going to highs of 20. 13 and cloudy in Eldoret with highs of 22, and Mombasa will be sunny through Tuesday at 24, currently going to highs of 29. 29 will also be the high in a sunny Malindi at 25. It's 20 and cloudy in Kisumu with highs of 27, while at 18 it's cloudy in Kakamega with highs of 26. It's cloudy in Kampala at 18, highs of 26, and in Dar es Salaam at 23, it's sunny, going to highs of 30 and lows of 22. Johannesburg is 5 degrees and clear. We'll see highs of 19, while Mogadishu for most of the day will be sunny, going to highs of 28. It's 13 and cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 21 and lows of 12. It's a partly cloudy Tuesday morning in Lagos at 25 with highs of 29. And we'll see highs of 29 as well in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa, currently at 21.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Spice up your life.
All right, the Eastern Bypass giving traffic all the way through towards North Airport Road and out towards Cabanas. Very, very busy this morning. Some of that is spilling over towards Outer Ring. In and outbound traffic on Jogo Road today is an absolute nightmare, not knowing what's causing this, but it's very busy. We're also seeing traffic on Kangunda Road, which started early, and on the Thika Superhighway just past Survey through towards the Pangani Tunnel is where we'll see the traffic today. Northern Bypass feeding into Kiambu Road, not a problem. On Gong Road, we saw a patch of traffic as you come in past Junction. But as you go out, it's going to level off and then touching on the roundabout coming in towards City Mortuary. We're getting into traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we get through it. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on X. # The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The youth factor in the broad-based government. Our guest this morning, Ndu Okoh, Executive Director of Siasa Place City.
You know, when I look at the page on the Star that I was referring to earlier on, the question that was in my mind: what sort of country are we? I mean, what sort of people are we? Why do we tolerate so much? Your children are killed, you sit back. Your money is stolen, you sit back. You are lied to, you sit back. And then you complain. Come on, man. I mean, what sort of people are we? We have a constitution. It's clear. We know what to do. Our constitution gave us the power. We say we are a country that's run by the rule of law, and we have a president who keeps saying we are run by the rule of law. Why don't we just bring about the changes that we know we need? Why do we have to sit and complain, and yet young people keep dying every day? And you know for what? Because they dared to say the things that people who are older did not dare to say. And all they were saying was, we have a constitution, we want to follow it, and we want change. That's it. Nothing more complicated than that. What sort of people are we in this country? I mean, what manner of human beings are we?
You know, City, it's making me think of that image of a donkey that has been tied to a peg. And then it goes round and round and round. And then when someone finally removes that peg, it still goes around in that same circle. That's what I think Kenya is going through, where we had this constitution, but we still don't believe that it's real. We still act as though it doesn't exist. And then when we have leadership that emphasizes and insists on using organs rather than protecting the people to their own advantage is the problem. So even with Boniface, when we talked about him earlier, he's attending a protest, he's abducted, it's being covered live. People are using their phones to record. Taken to Vihiga, tortured. He's missing. Mind you, we're all looking for him at this point. Then, because of the noise online, he just pops up magically. Then he's now arrested. But he's been beaten so bad, he had to be taken to hospital first before his hearing. He ends up in court. And then DCI, now they start to charge him. And start to charge him with an offense of obstruction. He's still having to go to court as we speak. And so even when people are using their democratic right to be able to protest on an issue that they feel is important to them, that's been provided by the Constitution. And when young people reach out to me from different parts of Africa, they're like, we really look up to Kenya. We feel like you guys actually have systems. Your judiciary, you actually try and follow these systems. The Constitution, people, if they touch term limits, you guys will be out. You'll be like, no. We follow the law here. But then you have some rogue leaders who come in and say, you know what, we're going to take it back to the 90s. Let's go old school, you know, even with the existing of the Constitution, let's go old school and use this machinery and institutions like we used to back in the day. Like we loved it so much that we want to bring it back. We don't think the Constitution is what the people need. Right now, it's a battle of really living the Constitution or just predicting that it exists and put it up on the shelf and say we did that as a country, but really, truly, we don't live that.
Our tolerance brought us here because why is it then that the state has organs in the police force whose job is to abduct, harm, maim, kill? Why? These are your people. These are your citizens who you swore to protect. And the people who are at the very, very, very front of ensuring that there's law and order are the people who are perpetrating it. So you ask, come on, folks, I mean, these are your fellow citizens. These are just people who live in this country like you, want the same things as you. And the very things that they're advocating for will also benefit you. It's not anybody else. I mean, why all this? It's not that I find it mind-boggling. What I find unfathomable is how it is that the very thing that is causing us the greatest harm is the very thing we're tolerating the most. That is the thing.
Sounds like an abusive relationship.
Yes.
A narcissist one, to be exact. And what about the scarcity mentality, where you think this is the only way I can survive? I cannot survive outside this system. So I have to follow through with what power says, because through that, power feeds me. So that mentality of outside of that structure, nobody survives.
You know, there's, unfortunately, history is strewn with examples of people who had that line of thinking. And the thing that happened is, at the most inconvenient time, these things caught up with them. Argentina is famous for this. They had something called the Dirty War, the 90s. Pinochet and his cabal. They were notorious for disappearing people. That's where that word was coined. People disappeared, meaning you didn't know there was no closure for many families. Young men who were in the police force and who are part of the group who disappeared people, you know when this thing caught up with them, when they were now old men. 10, 20, 30 years later, the cases never went away. Now is when they were being arrested. You've long forgotten what you did. You're a grandfather, you're going about your life, but you were responsible for disappearances. It has caught up with you. It always does. I mean, people think that it doesn't. It does. Now, what was, you know, when you sit back, you ask, but what was all that for? Why? Because you wanted to stay in power. Even when people didn't want the sort of power you exercise. The option was, why don't you exercise power that people are willing to accommodate and which they can see is beneficial to them? Because there are such powers where it is given to you and you administer it, in all honesty, on behalf of the people. So they accommodate it and they like it. Better still situations where when people don't particularly like you and they tell you, you say, okay, folks, this was supposed to be an understanding. If we don't understand each other, why don't I just take a step back? Or better still, what do you exactly want me to do so that I can actually do it? Not turn it around to do it the way I want while telling you I'm doing what you've told me. No, not that. The options are always there, but the problem is options run out. Now that again is what now I dread, because when they run out, then things run amok. The situation in this country isn't a pleasant one. We give the impression that it is, but it isn't. Because these problems we keep speaking about are actually very real. When people who are hungry, world bodies that deal with these things tell you, people who are hungry in Kenya are increasing in number. Meaning, as I said earlier on, it's not that there is food and they're eating a little of it. It doesn't exist. They can't access it. You compare it with the wanton and vulgar display of materialism and consumption. That is what strife is made of. That, it's in your eye and you can compare and you can see. That is meaning there is enough for everybody, but a few people have decided to hog it.
These problems that you describe, City, so well, do you think they are cross-cutting across the country?
Yes.
You think everybody feels them the same way?
They do.
And interprets that as a problem the same way?
They do.
Because on the one hand, yes, we've seen the outpouring of emotion and feeling on the streets in the last 6 weeks.
Yes.
And then in the last 1 week, after the formation of the broad-based government, we have seen again the reaction.
Yes.
Again from the same populace. For example,
yes.
Look at the president's tour of the coasts.
Yes.
And the Rakanidi counties.
Yes.
And the kind of response that you see from huge crowds that
yes.
are coming out. And the reaction, to whatever points the president was making. Stima, mnataka stima. Wacha nione kwa mikono, and they raise hands and they clap and they cheer. Mnataka tuweke jineri hapa ili mtupande pamba. Waletee mbegu, they cheer. Tutengeneze hapa kwa mambo ya ferry, they cheer.
They would.
And they say, yes, now that we are forming a government that is all-inclusive. Do you want us to form a government of that all-inclusive? And they say, yes. Is that the same story?
There's, I'm going to answer your question. There's a gentleman called Pavlov. He was a psychologist, and he came up with Pavlov's law. And it was based on an understanding of how people get conditioned to a certain way of doing things. Now, we are fortunate as a country and very blessed to have a system where we've understood, as Nerima said, where 10 years somebody leaves, goes. It has been a good thing. We are accustomed to it. It's our trend. We've accepted it. Presidents come, presidents go. To the point where you feel a president must take 10 years. No, they don't actually. It's 5 years and then 5 years. Okay? Now, we are also used to being lied to. This is not a current presidential issue. Other presidents before have said similar things, and they all amount to a lie, because if we've been talking about the same enemies of the people, you're talking about hunger, you're talking about illiteracy, the same problem still persists 6 years down the line, then you've been lied to throughout those years, because it should have come to an end. And because we believe that it is leaders who bring development, when the leader of the country tells you they're going to bring development, what you hear, the cheers, that's hope speaking. Amidst all these things, let's give this hope one last hurrah and say, I believe this thing can work. The only problem is this. That euphoria you see being expressed is not as good a thing as you think. Because when it flips, when hope is dashed, because that's hope, when it's dashed, then real problems now emerge. So you ask me the question, do people want to see change? They do. So whenever there's a manifestation of it, they will want it. Do people like disruptions? They do not. When people protest peacefully, they're happy. When people start losing property, they turn against the protests and they want to go back to the status quo where, yes, they were having problems, but they were not being robbed every day. People are not taking their things. So they'd rather be where they were before.
At least there were pumpkins in Egypt.
They were okay, Buana. At least you could eat leeks, for heaven's sake, Buana. This manna every day. So, again, it's what they're used to. Countries that have been accustomed to war. We have a neighboring country here, it's called Sudan. They had war for over 50 years. That's what they're used to. So it's very easy for that country to go back into that particular mode that they were in. We are used to this system. So that's what you see us retreating to. When we want change, but want it on certain terms, when we feel that change that we saw coming is actually representing something that harms us, we say, no, this one we know. If this one we don't want
There's a price for change.
Let's just go back to where we were. At least, yeah, things were hard, but we were not being hassled and bothered. There was no threat that people may come and steal everything I have. That one. And we may not even know it. But part of the reason why people keep quiet is they blame these people. Say, these young people, we thought they were going to do something. Now look at the problems they brought. We, as Kenyans, do not like to be bothered. We want to be in a position where there's minimum bother, and then we can do what we like doing, all of us. That's how we are.
So, Narima, do you think then the political system is riding that?
It's riding it, but it won't be able to ride it for long. What City mentions is very true. There's still a position where people can be comfortable, but it's getting to a point where those who are uncomfortable are outnumbering those who are comfortable. And since we live in a democratic country, we hope majority. And so when the majority is uncomfortable, they will come and push you out of that comfort zone. And all we're pushing for is let's try and fix things before it gets to that point. The management of public resource has to be done better. We have to streamline the institutions that exist. We have to find better ways of governing this country. And the side road shows is not going to cut it.
And it's possible to have all of these things done without necessarily reconstituting government. There are things that can happen now.
There are a lot of things that can happen now. I think I saw even on KTN on Sunday, there was a group of young people who were, sharing that they wanted to protest the Public Service Commission because they've been interns since 2019. We have seen KMPDU coming out and standing for their medical interns as well. So if you just think in that area, we've not even talked about engineers, the different professions. That just is a sample of what's happening in our country when it comes to young people. So there needs to be a better uptake of young people. There needs to be a focus on specific pillars in our country and just investing in those pillars and making sure that the resource that's being collected is actually being used in the country. There's still hope, but I think the president missed his chance. When he dissolved cabinet, it was there that he could have actually put across technocrats who understand specific sectors, who can work toward making change in the next 1 year with a specific roadmap and focus. Right now, agriculture should be high on our list in terms of priorities. 80% agricultural land in our country. We've had rain here in Nairobi, but not so much in other parts of the country. Soon, we're going to be talking about a drought. Soon, we're going to be talking about famine. This is something that his CS agriculture needs to be having sleepless nights about in terms of how we're going to mitigate that. But we're busy traveling through the country and saying how they come from this tribe, we are represented. That's what he's doing right now. And so when you have people who are hungry, like Siti has mentioned, they are not going to sleep in their hunger while they are watching you eating meat.
They'll come for you.
They will come for you. So all we're trying to say is, let's do it the way that has process, due diligence, system, the proper way, rather than pushing people to an edge and then now they're like, forget system. I also want to eat.
I think it's important to bring out maybe insights as to why would there be a reluctance to do this, because like we said, and I've heard a lot of comments about this over the last few days, that there are certain things you can do now. You don't need to wait for 1, 2, 3 to be in place. There are certain things that you can do now. We spent a good time of this morning talking about some of these budget cuts. Some of the ridiculous amounts of money that are being spent on certain things that could easily cater for some of the gaps that we see in the country today. Why is there reluctance to do it now, do you think?
I think he's grappling between doing the right thing and feeling abandoned. The way our politics is, it's like he's afraid of being a lone ranger, of making the tough choices. Because where he is right now is to make the tough choices for the country, and he's going to lose a lot of friends. So what happens when you come and you start a business? I love comparing a business because I've started an organization. It's the only way I can think about it. So if I started my organization with my friends, and then my friends I'm like, oh my gosh, we started this, it was a great idea, but now I need this to actually work. I have to drop you, and I have to actually hire someone with skill here, or we're not going to go well, we're not going to succeed. So that's where he is. So instead of like dropping this crew and being like, okay, we have a country here at stake, and we need to make better choices, he chose to keep his crew around him. And that's how our politics has been for the last few decades. It has been, you enter with your crew, and your crew is normally your tribe because you're able to bring the numbers and the votes. But where this is changing, there's so much intermarrying that's happening. A lot of young people belong to several tribes. They identify themselves as Kenyan. Even those in rural areas, they are more concerned again about access to basic needs and livelihoods. When that's not there, when you don't have even simple drugs in the hospital for a young mom who is 19, who's a parent, you think she's going to come and ask, which tribe are you? And you belonging there, it helps me how? This stops making sense. And that's where a huge chunk of our population is. I hear especially politicians saying, the youth, they need to be calm, they need to be organized, they need to tell us what they want. they have told you several times. And the challenge that I see is they say that Kenya is young, but I don't think they understand it. Like if you walk out here, even in this office here, you just walk out and count how many young people are here. You're surrounded by them. They are everywhere. That is just how many there are.
And yet, we don't see them.
Yeah.
And yet, they're everywhere. They're in your face, they're in your house.
And you don't see
and
them.
yet, you don't see them.
Yes.
So what do we see? Those ancient crocodiles like myself, what do we actually see?
I think that you refuse to see. I think it's something that you see, but you don't see as concerning. I think the older generation is a lot more comfortable than where young people are. They still have 30, 40 years to live, God willing. But you're talking about people who can't see tomorrow.
We've been conditioned. When you've lived through all the presidents of this country like I have, you get conditioned and you get jaded. And after a while, you simply get by. You don't want too many upheavals. That's what happens with age. Yes, the youth have an advantage here, and they can change a lot more than they realize because they haven't gotten to power yet. There's no guarantee they will not be like us. There is no guarantee that they'll not even be even more corrupt. Remember, we changed from people who wanted to actually grow the economy, get into business. There's a community in this country, it's called the Kikuyu, okay? They're actually such a group. Those were entrepreneurs who made the African in this country understand that an African can actually do business, an African can actually build industry, build economic setups. They did. It was an emancipation period. And that's how the economy grew. But then we moved away from that. The new group that came in, they're called the Somalis. They're actually Kenyans, but they're called the Somalis. They've gotten into that space as well. But the largest space is occupied by people who think that business equals plundering state resources. So nothing grows. It dies, it's a stillbirth. Before it has moved, it is dead. All that money that is pilfered, if it actually went into business, if it went into doing things, this country, it's not a joke. It's something we would see with our eyes.
Yes, exactly.
But it's pilfered and then it's kept away. So it doesn't do what money is supposed to do.
And that's dangerous.
Yes.
How do you conclude the conversation, Narima?
Systems. I would say it's about allowing institutions to do their work. Less talking. We didn't ask you to come out and campaign. We were already tired of the campaign period before 2022. We can't be a few years to 2027 and we're still in campaign mode. We are wasting time. This ticking time bomb has exploded. So what you need to be doing is figuring out how to put systems in place to contain it.
Narima Wako Jiwa, Executive Director, Siasa Place. Good morning, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Ubaga. The Gen Z movement is today set to hold another round of anti-government protests where protesters plan to march to State House in Nairobi and other state lodges across the country. The Supreme Council of Kenyan Muslims have, however, urged them to call off their protests and allow the government time to address their demands. Chairman Hassan Olenado acknowledged that they raised important issues that must be addressed by the government.
Sisi tumeunga mkono vijana wetu kwa yale mambo ambayo yamezungumza juu yao. Na sisi kama SUPKEM tumesema kwamba ili mambo kama haya iweze kufanyiwa kazi ni muhimu ipatikane mazungumzo kama vile katiba yetu inaturuhusu kwamba lazima ipatikane njia maalum ya watu kuweza kupeleka mbele mazungumzo kama haya.
A section of Western Kenya leaders now claim that they are yet to occupy 30% of leadership in government as promised by Kenya Kwanza during campaigns. Led by Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, they've said that President William Ruto has failed to award them their share despite the fact that they contributed to his election win.
Tuondoe fedheha ile mababu zetu walipitia, baba zetu wamepitia, sasa watoto wetu wanapitia. We are not ambitious at all. Ambition yetu ni kusupport winning candidates. Ukisupport mtu wa chama ingine akishinda, wewe una dance, ukinamza kwa kilomwen. Siku gani pia sisi watu wengine watachezea sisi. Kenya anakupa na lirima, tukue na hasira. Maana tusipokuwa na hasira, mabadiliko haitakuja. Tukiendelea kuwa na hii mchezo yetu ya gawanya hii, mabadiliko haitakuja.
Kwamba sasa ile kitu tunataka ni accountability. Nao viongozi ambao wako kwa serikali, viongozi wote ambao tuko kwa serikali, kwamba tuwe na accountability kwa watu wetu.
The father warned of any plans to remove UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala from his position.
Ukitoa kileona sisi tunakutoa. Wale ambao wanakudanganya leo hii, uende ukaa nao chonjo kabisa. Hii waachana kusikia, tunasikia ati maandamano ya Gen Z inakuwa siku 2. Wewe ukienda toa kileo, maandamano itakuwa kila dakika. Hiyo hatutaruhusu tena. Yani
The Nyeri Council of Elders has been tasked with resolving the dispute between Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza and the county MCAs. Meru High Court Judge Linus Kasan said further directions on the decision to remove her from office will be made next month after the elders submit their report. The judge also directed Mwangaza and her lawyers to appear before Nyeri tomorrow. Detectives are investigating an incident in which a university student was found dead after suspected suicide in a village in Bungoma County. The student, identified as Benson Wafula, a third-year student at Lakeside University, was found hanging on a truss at his parents' house with a rope tied around his neck. The motive of the incident is yet to be known, even as police have ordered for post-mortem examination. Teachers have been warned against disrespecting head teachers and officials in the education sector. Educationist Robert Soiter has further said that they should understand that teaching is a calling and should be done with passion.
Abductions are happening.
Soiter has further urged parents to take part in their children's upbringing as well as provide their needs. And in the international scene, Haiti's Prime Minister escaped unharmed after gangs opened fire near a hospital he was visiting. Gary Canel, who came to office in June, was leaving the establishment in a gun-controlled area of capital Port-au-Prince when gunmen began firing automatic weapons. Gary, escorted by Haitian police and members of a UN-backed Kenyan security force, was able to flee the area unharmed. This event comes as hundreds of police officers from Kenya have been deployed in Haiti's capital, part of an international effort to bring stability to a country riven by political, social and economic chaos. That's the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Right, Odinga Way busy, and this is coming off of Langata Road this morning, and so we've got some traffic that's heading out in that direction. We'll get to a bumper-to-bumper status as you get towards the City Mortuary roundabout. It's busy on Jago Road. Off the jump, it's been quite crazy in both directions, in and outbound, and the traffic that we see around Wakulima still continues, and this is just past the Kamkunji roundabout. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic is coming in hot towards Survey, and then you're going to have a hold-up until you get out of that Pangani Tunnel, as usual. In and outbound traffic, right at that outer ring exit on Kangunda Road, traffic is busy. The greatest of all traffic jam still continues on the Eastern Bypass, and that's heading out towards North Airport Road. You're going to go through that Cabanas Loop without an issue, but then outer ring will take on some traffic as you're going in the northerly direction. So we are in traffic hour. We'll continue and see how that goes. If you get stuck and it gets really ugly, let us know. If you find a good route this morning, talk to us as well and keep things moving this morning. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 8. Thank you very much for keeping it locked. The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation, setting the agenda for the nation. From the Standard Group Center in Nairobi all the way to the world. Ndu, people want to win 5,000 shillings.
Okay.
And they need to know how.
Okay.
All right.
I've got a way.
Okay.
All right.
Go.
If you have a Britam fund account, top it up. If you don't, get on to ke.britam.com and register an account. What does this account help you do? Essentially, you grow your money. If you're going to grow it in the short to medium term, you're going to open a money market fund account. All right? And then you will grow your money by 13.5%. If you get into the smart yield account, you can also grow your money there by 14% per year, per annum, essentially, that's what it is. So that's how you grow your money. But you're interested in how you can win 5,000 shillings today? Go ahead. Fund your account with 1,000 shillings, take a screenshot of that, and send it to our DMs, SpiceFM KE. You could win 5,000 shillings today because you did just that. Simple. Easy peasy.
Simple. ke.britam.com. Then you'll find a tab there written Save and Invest. Click on that tab. It opens a page. Now select Britam Money Market or look for the Britam Smart Yield and then click on Start Investing. It opens a new page. Now fill in the details there. How much do you want to invest? How often do you want to be topping up your account? What's the purpose? What do you think? What's your project? How long do you want to invest for? Just fill up that account and then it'll ask you for the promo code, right? SpiceFM. It is that symbol. 1,000 shillings is what you need to start with. You can put 2,000, 3,000, as long as it's in the multiples of 1,000 or it's more than 1,000. You can put 1,001. It's fine. 1,005 is fine. Just as long as you've put 1,000 plus something else, send that to our DM on X or on Facebook. At the end of this show, we are going to award one person with 5,000 shillings courtesy of the Britam Asset Managers. Hiya. Our next guest is in the studio, and we're lucky. In fact, I told our producer Openje, Ebu just ask security whether they can see a Pro Box down there.
Subaru.
Yours is Pro Box. Madharau gani?
You mean there's a vehicle called a Pro Box Subaru?
People others are picked up in Subarus. They put a guy, Masharia Gaido, in a Pro Box.
By the way, they even have Volkswagens these days.
Madharau, but Pro
Box.
Masharia, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you.
I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago on a Wednesday morning, it wasn't a pleasant morning for many. And those who saw the messages immediately and those who got calls immediately and were sound, they said, Masharia has been abducted. We're like, what do you mean? And then we saw the clips that were recorded by your son. We're like, really? Like, really? Does that not look like a police station? Yeah. Okay. But it's good to see you.
I'm happy to be here.
Why? City?
Yes.
We'll give Masharia Gaido, veteran journalist, the day's proverb.
All right, veteran journalist. Here comes the proverb. Where there is peace, a billock can be used to shave your beard or cut your hair. Billock is a sickle.
Okay.
Yes.
Where there is peace,
a sickle can be used to shave your beard or cut your hair.
What's your interpretation of the proverb?
These proverbs, by the way, for this week come from the Republic of Burundi. Yeah, we're looking at island nations of Africa. Now we're looking at...
okay. Sorry, I was somewhere else.
It's all right. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Okay. Now we're looking at landlocked countries in Africa. And we started with the B, Burundi. Next week, I'll be going to Botswana. Yes, like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Where there is peace.
Yes.
You call it a what? Bullock?
Billock.
Billock can be used to cut your hair or shave your beard. Well, first of all, it comes from Burundi, a country which has not known peace for a long time. And I can tell you that if I was in Bujumbura or anywhere near there, I would not allow any offensive weapon near my head or my throat. As simple as that. I think where there is peace, then you don't have to fear. You don't have to be in fear. You don't have to be in fear. Yeah.
Everything is not a weapon.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes, it's what people use as weapons are actually tools. And the purpose for which they were intended was not to cut off people's necks or to sever their limbs. They were meant for other purposes. But where there is no peace, then the usage changes. Yes.
It's the importance of peace. Hey, Mashari, a lot is happening in this country.
Well, plenty.
Right?
Plenty.
The last time you were here, we were talking about this protest, the Gen Z movement, what it was bringing, and your advice to the president saying, you know what, these are opportunities that are presenting themselves. And then you have also even gone through it yourself. Would you still have the same advice to the government?
Like I said last time, this government, despite all the, despite what they try to show as a listening, caring, responsive government, they're still stuck in a very old mindset. Yes, you see 2 steps back forward in terms of withdrawing the finance bill, sacking the cabinet. But then it is followed by 3 steps backwards. Not even standing still. We're actually moving backwards. I am seeing Ruto now on the campaign trail. Yesterday he was, I think, in Taveta or thereabouts, promising bridges and superhighways and everything else. The other day he was in Kilifi promising this and that. The other day he was in Mombasa promising this and that. That he was in Meru promising to extend the superhighway. I don't have to build, we've gone into campaign mode on those same old promises which discredited him in the first place and earned him the tag of a liar. And I don't know whether he doesn't see it. That this should be the time for delivery, not the time for promises. And there are some very simple things that he has to deliver on. The issues which made Gen Z rise up in revolt. Instead of addressing them, he is looking at a political fix, a very short-term political fix, only of benefit to the political classes, not to the suffering peoples. He doesn't get it. He
but
doesn't
why?
get it.
Is it possible that he gets it, but he has a different solution to it?
That's why I say he doesn't get it.
When you get it, how exactly do you manifest getting it? When someone says, I've understood, which is essentially what we are colloquializing and saying getting it, how do you manifest it?
You can choose. You understand and you react. You respond positively. Or
I agree.
You understand. And
but
you
there's a response that universally will be considered as you having you will have manifested an understanding, a clear understanding, because an understanding also encompasses the ramifications. You know that this decision takes you along this path, and that path has consequences at the end of it. That's what getting it is all about.
Or you could understand and see, now that I actually understand what the problem is, if I were to act on this problem, it'll lead me down a different path.
Yes.
If I were to act, this way, it buys me more time.
Okay.
It provides me some leeway, something that I can deal with.
All right.
I know how to deal with this problem. I don't know how to deal with this problem.
Can I juxtapose it a little bit? Remember, one of the things that this government did when they were campaigning was to complain about how the 5 years where there was a handshake and blame literally everything that they believed went wrong and which they were going to fix happened during that period when there was a handshake. So what are they saying? That the handshake was an enabler. But we are seeing it. There's a handshake, and then what do we see next?
That's the thing, CT. He saw handshake and he saw survival. There was a handshake, and with that handshake, there was survival.
Right, and then...
So, he's looking for survival.
If a handshake in 2018 was bad, why is a handshake today good?
Good.
It wasn't bad then. It was just bad to those who are not in the handshake. Those who shook hands didn't have a problem with it. They survived. If you're looking for survival, look for have you seen a working formula for survival? Yes. When? In 2018. What happened? There was political survival.
Eric, let me ask
Are you looking for political survival today? Yes. What has been tried and tested? Clinical trials.
You see, the challenges were different then.
Yes.
In 2018, the threat President Uhuru Kenyatta faced was coming from his deputy president. So he had to be neutralized by bringing in Raila. The threat President William Ruto faces today is from the people. Will Raila neutralize the people? Yes, he'll satisfy his base probably, but the people who were out in the streets were not his base. He has no power over the Gen Zs, and he has no power over all the other people who are not necessarily Gen Zs, but broadly supported that revolt. And these are people of all age groups, all social classes, all ethnicities and regions. They are not limited to somebody's political caucus. Can he contain that? Can Raila contain that? I don't think so.
Is it possible that they've calculated and seen that those are the minority and that their bases still form the majority?
Actually, that thinking makes sense because it is logical. But who foresaw that the Gen Z were going to go onto the street? People were busy thinking, the same thing you're saying, planning, feeling, this is how we've got this thing covered, okay? We've got it. Then one day they didn't get it. And then they've continued not to get it. Could it be that this is one of those moments where when you're tracing back and saying, you know, there was a politician in this country called Raila, that man's popularity was tremendous. And then he started waning. What happened? Could you trace it to such a moment where, yes, you have a lot of support, and somehow the support now, the base starts questioning also and saying, actually, guys, let's give this thing a second look. Because this movement is causing Kenyans to give this whole thing we call Kenya, and this arrangement, we have a second look. We're asking, are we really going to continue living this way? And that's why this handshake is being questioned in ways that had never been questioned before. And you're talking of nominations. They are being looked at. They are being examined with a tooth comb. They are being examined in ways they've never been examined before. It's a very different dispensation.
But is this progress, Macharia? Is this real progress that we can actually look at it and say, measured, that the things that people are asking for, because this was what set it was, you know, the revolt, the revolution, the protest. But is this progress to get from point A to point B, the things that we see happening currently? Is it really?
I would say, in terms of the people and their consciousness, there is a great deal of progress. For the first time, we have seen that people can rise up without having to be controlled by politicians or mobilized by politicians. People can just say enough is enough, irrespective of their party or ethnic affiliations, or our normal fault lines. People can all come together and say enough is enough and shake the government. That is a great deal of progress, and there is no going back. But when it comes to the government response, there is no progress. They are doubling down, trying to use the tactics of 1990. The Moi era tactics. Terrorize the people. Abductions. Special branch. DCI running some secret outfits. Political promises of we'll build bridges here, footpaths there, everything else. You know, the same old tired tactics. And then, of course, look for something to blame. And you know, remember that language? Mm-hmm. Enemies of development, agents of foreign masters.
Mm-hmm. Money has been poured.
Money has been poured. And of course, look for, it is either foreigners or look for some politicians to blame.
Yeah.
Even if there is no evidence. Today, the DCI and the NIS are spending all their time trying to look for evidence so they can pin the revolt on some entity they cannot find. It's crazy.
How long do you think this will run for? Because, okay, so we've seen the response by the government, we've seen the response by the president and the political class just coalescing and saying, all right, it's broad-based, it's for the sake of national peace and development. And from this past weekend, and what the president has basically come out to say is, I am forming a government so that we can all, you know, now be more included. I have heard what the people are saying, they want more inclusion. And you can see now we are moving forward. And like you said, he went back into his status quo. We are back to status quo ante, where everything is about, you know, promises, development. We shall do this. You fisher folk, I am 800 million shillings so that we can move into this. Liwatoni, you guys are complaining about a bridge. Okay, actually, we are doing another better bridge. What are you talking about? You sugarcane farmers, we are dealing with you sugarcane farmers. You cotton farmers, cotton, we are sorting you out. There's no power here, we're sorting out power. There's a bridge that's collapsed, we are sorting out that bridge, you know? How long do you think this will run before?
First of all, let's get rid of one lie. This is not a broad-based government. Simply bringing in surrogates of one man does not make it broad-based. It is simply bringing him into the coalition, into the Kenya Kwanza coalition. That does not make it broad-based. And if you're looking at something which really incorporates everybody, it must go beyond simply satisfying a few politicians. It actually has to be some consultative process which goes outside the political, outside the normal political alliances and the way we build political alliances. We would have thought they would look at competence. We would have thought they would look at people who are not tainted with ethical questions, or people who are not simply appendages of some old political formation. Nothing has changed. It is a game of musical chairs. You sack some non-performing anonymous cabinet secretaries.
Anonymous.
and replace them with like for like. But the fellows who are the source of your problems, the ones who are the movers and shakers in the cabinet, the wheeler dealers, the ones who are responsible for the mess, your so-called homeboys, they remain in place. There'll be a bit of musical chairs, move somebody from this ministry to this ministry, but they are still in place. Some of those people are the problem. And they are Ruto's problem. Because they're not going to be the ones standing for president in 2017, in 2027. It is him. He will not say, oh no, it was Murkomen who did this, or it was so-and-so who did this. It is him to take the flag. So that's what I'm saying, he doesn't get it. But this thing will not end. Yes, there may be a lull. People will have to get back and re-strategize. But have the concerns of Wananchi been addressed? No. Already we are seeing in Parliament now they have a super majority. I'm calling it the Kenya Kwanza ODM coalition. Already they are moving to override the president's veto on the finance bill. By going clause by clause, they've rejected his removal of the budget for the First Lady and the spouse of the Deputy President. What else will they reinstate? Is that a participatory process? Is that the national conversation we're talking about?
And when they removed it, what budget line suffered? Health?
Initially, health, education.
Yes.
JS teachers.
Actually, what they did is to try and punish the people. Their perks remain. The gluttony in government remains. But they are hitting at the services which most impact on the people. Health, education, social welfare.
Again, why? Why, Macharia? You have written about politicians, you've sat down with politicians, you've analyzed politics. Why? Why would these leaders do that? When clearly this time, it wasn't just like you've said, it was a movement by the people, and the people were expressing something very clearly. Why would those in power, knowing that they are political sharks, that they depend on survival, and so they try to appear to be listening to the people, why would they actually so blatantly show that they are not listening? Why?
Like I said, because they don't get it.
Why?
Secondly, they are still not believing. They are still not believing that what happened. They think it was just some
children playing around, making
passing
noise,
phase,
disturbing people.
Yes. They are not believing that it actually happened and that it shook this country to the core. And they'll want to sell all kinds of silly narratives that it is just some rich little brats funded by who and so. They don't get it. And I wish they could at least even do a poll, their own, leave alone the ones done independently, and find out what do Kenyans actually think. Beyond Gen Z.
What do the other Kenyans across the country think?
What I know, even without a poll, is that when that Gen Z revolt came out, they had very broad support across population groups, irrespective of our normal fall lines. That did not need a poll for me to see, but it can be confirmed by a scientific poll. And it is not something you can ignore and move on at business as usual. Things have changed. And they have to realize that.
Eric, take for instance the pictures that we saw and the narratives that we heard on that first day, and even on the second day. These were very peaceful days. They were passing through town. Shops, they did not close. People who owned shops, people who were giving water,
Yeah.
Okay? They were doing their thing. Nothing stopped working in town. Now, the question I would ask is, why then would they have changed when the following week came about? Why, these same people, why would they have changed now? That is something that would scare anybody. That giving of water tells you, people were saying, well done. I remember being caught up on the expressway. I saw people, not a person, who had pickups, they had water, lots of it, walking to give. Meaning they came prepared knowing there will be these protesters and there is water and they're giving. This has never happened. And I'm certain that the intelligence agency in this country gave the leaders the correct information. They told them this is what is happening.
This is popular.
This thing is extremely popular.
So they get it.
No, they're in denial.
No.
They think they'll just go here and propose to build a bridge here, a market here, a road here, that will solve the issues. It will not.
Let's take a break. 29 minutes to 9. Our guest is veteran journalist Macharia Gaido. He's here this morning. A lot is changing in the country. It's the changes in the country that we are discussing today. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13, highs of 20 and lows of 14 in Nakuru, and highs of 20 and lows of 14 in Nyeri. 22 will be the high with lows of 13 in Eldoret, and it's sunny at 24 in Mombasa and 26 and sunny in Malindi. Kisumu is cloudy at 20 with highs of 27, and we'll see highs of 26 and a cloudy Kakamega at 18. Kampala this morning is cloudy at 18 with highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 31 in a sunny Dar es Salaam at 23. Johannesburg at 5 degrees is sunny with highs of 19, and Mogadishu at 27, sunny through Tuesday with highs of 29. It's cloudy at 15 in Addis Ababa with highs of 21, and 29 will be the high in a cloudy Lagos at 25, and it's 21 and cloudy in Kinshasa with highs of 29 and lows of 20.
Spice up your life.
All right, still pretty busy in certain parts of the city this morning, but we're looking at reduced traffic coming off of Thika Superhighway just past Survey, and Mangari Mathai getting some traffic as you then approach that junction at the museums this morning, trying to get onto Uhuru Highway, so that's one to watch. Coming in from Westlands or in from the city. Jogoo Road is busy as well. We're looking at that then seeping through towards Landys, and Kangundo Road still continues with some traffic here and there. There's a little nook on the Eastern Bypass coming through towards Embakasi and then out towards North Airport Road. Very, very busy. At a standstill in some parts and moving very slowly in others. Watch that as it spills over towards Outer Ring. Apart from that, I think it's all manageable. Ngong Road has a bit of traffic here and there coming off of Naivasha Road and then through towards Lavington. An eye on things this morning. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversation continues with veteran journalist Macharia Gaido. Macharia, let me give you, some examples in a build-up to my question. We hosted Kipchumba Murkomen when he was still the Minister for Roads and Transport, just a couple of days before the cabinet was disbanded. And again, we asked him, so in terms of roads, how much has been done? He said, you know what, when we came in, we found that the previous administration had promised and started so many road projects. A road started here, road started there, road started there, road started there, that ongoing road projects were worth 700 billion shillings. And we said, so which ones have actually moved to a certain stage that we now need to complete, coming to around 160 something billion shillings. How much budget was allocated to the roads ministry in the last financial year? Some 58 or so billion shillings. How much money actually ended up in the roads ministry to finish those projects? 28 billion shillings. Why? Shortage of cash. So all the promises that had been made, road here, road there, road the other, could not be completed because there was no money to actually complete. The president himself has said that we are having some serious financial problems trying to balance with all the debt that we have to pay and the little money that we can manage to raise locally and even borrow in the market. Yet it's the same president who's still promising more that requires expenditure. More power projects being promised. More to support fishermen. More to support infrastructure development. Do you think he knows that there's no money to complete these projects?
He is the one who has told us time and time again that there is no money, that he inherited empty coffers. Let us concede that, yes, this administration inherited a mess from the previous one in terms of ongoing development projects for which there was no money, and the government debt. But this administration cannot divorce itself from the previous one. Murkomen, you could say, was a member of the previous government, whether he was just an MP or even if he was not a minister. They are the ones who are voting for those development projects and voting for that budget. Ruto was the deputy president. He was very busy in the last term of that government, going all over the place, opening projects and claiming credit for them. So it is not just an inherited mess. It is a mess they created or helped create and must live with it now. They cannot keep saying we inherited this and that. We know there is no money. We know that somehow funds must be raised to sustain the government, pay our debts, and build a few bridges here and there. But there must be a plan to it. The moment the president is going around promising projects left, right, and center, has he consulted the treasury? Are those things on the development plan? Are they going to start shifting budgets around to cater for this and that project because the president has decreed?
But then mustn't you question the intention behind those things? Because is it really because he has an intention to do them, or is he still trying in another bid to endear himself to people? Because it just sounds like something that you would do. That, all right, I may have been in a place where I was in the doghouse for a while, but then I need to get myself feeling as though I am still the darling of the people. And the one way that he knows to do this very well that we've seen is to make promises to people, and then there will be this crowd loving. I will do this,
that's
that, the
politics
other thing.
As usual.
It's like the girl that you keep trying to woo to keep her interested. Yeah. We have no intention of landing this thing.
So it is a lie.
It's a lie.
It is a lie. Politics as usual, of going around promising all kinds of goodies.
Now, to what end? One of the issues that, like you're saying, when the Gen Z came out and those that were supporting them, they were all pointing back at, these are the projects that were promised. These are the promises that were made by this team when they were campaigning and they got into office. This was the expectation. It was unfulfilled promises that was high up there among the issues that the people were not happy with the administration. So why would you come and continue making more promises that are most likely going to be unfulfilled?
But doesn't it keep you wrapped up in this whole euphoria?
Because your mind
is stuck on promises.
Is stuck on the same old way of doing things.
Yeah.
You cannot think differently. For you, it is to take a certain cluster of people, in Taita Taveta, bribe them with promises. Then go to Kilifi, bribe them with promises. You've come from Meru, bribe them with not an actual project, a promise. Or open an already existing project. He's very good at that, by the way. Launching and relaunching and commissioning projects which were commissioned 5 years ago. Okay, things like those.
Do you think those people will at one point come and also say, no,
Don't you know when you're being lied to?
They do know.
I think people...
But they're clapping.
I think
why at that moment are they clapping?
You know, I've watched some of those clips. But there is some polite clapping. But I don't think it is that enthusiastic as used to happen in the past.
There you go.
It is not. And if he believes it is, he's lying to himself also, not just to the people, even to himself.
That makes it worse. Because the moment all those people then come back and they're like, okay, wait a minute. So we are, for example, cotton farmers in Kwale. And there's been this talk, and the president came here and said, you know what, we are trying to promote the local cotton industry. Opening a ginnery here. I'm going to open a ginnery here. And then you go, a couple of no ginneries have been opened. No support, adequate support to the cotton farmers to revive the cotton farming. That just basically just builds up the people of Likoni. You are told, so Liwatoni, which took so many billions of shillings to construct, and now our president comes and says, you know what, that Liwatoni floating bridge, by the way, it was a wrong idea.
That thing works, Bwana.
Apparently, according to the president, the people at the port and the military, the navy, said that thing is causing a 10-hour delay on ships docking at the port of Mombasa. So
that
now
bridge is causing a 10-hour delay.
Yeah, the floating Liwatoni bridge. So now we are going to construct another one. That's what the president said.
Look,
if you don't know where Liwatoni is, you'd believe that story.
For goodness sake, we've just finished June 1st, 2024. There was another June 1st in 2023 where celebrations for Madaraka Day were held where? In Kericho County. And you were told, we will finish. A year rolled round. And then we went to Bungoma in June on Madaraka Day. The same things that were said to the people of Kericho in 2023 were regurgitated to the folks of Bungoma in 2024. By the time the earth goes round the sun, you've made yet another raft of promises. But why'd you do that? Because that momentary euphoria, you remain the darling of the people. There's a high you're on for a while, and then you move on to the next thing. But my thing, Macharia, is that here we are at a point whereby at some point, the rubber will meet the road and folks will know fully well. Now they may doubt, they may not be sure, others are fully convinced, but soon everybody will know for a fact that you're playing on that promise or that short-term euphoria that you get by making the promise to us and we all clap for you. It will run out at some point and people will tell you, we know you're taking us for a fool.
And you can be sure that this time around, there are people tabulating each and every new promise, leave alone the old ones, the pending ones. The ones which have been made this week, they're already somewhere on a spreadsheet. He has promised he'll be in Taveta next month to I don't know what. He'll be back there to do I don't know what.
People who want to go to Europe tomorrow, if they apply for their passport today is what day? Tuesday. 30th. Next week, Tuesday, you will have your passport, and then I don't know which ministry you rock up to, Mofa.
Not just your passport.
You have your ticket to
you
go
will
where
even
you're
get an air ticket.
Hey, yeah.
Now, if anybody, some of these things I think are quite ridiculous.
Oh, you have to laugh because for goodness sake.
There was one of these public holidays where what were people offered? Scholarships.
It was Madaraka Day.
Training. There was
that was last year.
Online training at Nyayo Stadium and people were graduating.
Day. It was the one in December is what? Jamhuri.
You know, there's an interesting thing about relationships that are created. When you bought onto a promise that was made and you went along with it and probably voted for the person who made the promise, you may not realize it, but there's an allegiance that you have now. With that allegiance comes the element of hope. You're always hoping that some of these promises will come true because on the face of it, they sound good things. I mean, they sound like good things. They're things that could help people. So some people keep clutching at these straws and more realizing they are straws. So again, we are in the habit, when a political leader comes to talk to you, people attend. We are used to it. You know why? Some goodies may come your way. But also significantly, we hear of situations where crowds are brought. It's not as though people willingly go. Now, in a situation like this one of ours, where all these things happen at the same time, it tells you, at least it tells me, that people still respect the presidency. So they'll probably honor you with an audience. But that audience, if you look at it carefully, it is not the audiences we used to see. And we've seen some of these public gatherings and holidays where the crowd has at best been very thin. It's something that we've never witnessed before. So, is it that it was a very cold day? Or is it that people have become disenchanted and more becoming disenchanted so that even attending a meeting is not something that you will take for granted? Because we say people vote with their feet, don't they? Well, the feet have started moving now. And 2027 is a long way off. The question you ask, Ndu, though, I think deserves a little stab. We need to look at it. You know why? The question is, why does someone do this? I think we need to bring in one Professor Tuli here to explain this thing to us, because he's a psychiatrist and he's the one who understands these things. There must be an explanation for this.
I think better still, some of these people should be asked to consult Professor Atoli. They need help.
No, in all honesty, because you it's something that requires understanding, and I'm not going to play a guessing game here.
Again, I ask, this entire political leadership. Yes, Moshadi, I've heard you many times. I've asked you, and you've said they don't get it. They are still in denial. But these are people who've risen to the level that they have risen to, because they are very good at listening and interpreting what the people are saying. Raila Odinga has gotten where he has gotten to, because he has known how to listen. This is the choir. They're singing hymn number 9. Joins in hymn number 9 and sings like he's a soloist and becomes a soloist. Ruto, the same thing. If you look at all of them, Musalia, the same. They've grown up in the system. All these political leaders, even those that are fairly new, have become very good at it. So how is it that all these people, all of them, are actually not getting this tune? They think we're singing hymn number 9 when people are not even singing from that book. How is that?
I think we're dealing with people who think very short term. The benefits, the situation they are in today. They're very good at putting out fires, probably, but not reconstructing. And some of them think next year will take care of itself. And that is why even with all these brains you have in government, they cannot craft a coherent policy on anything. They cannot craft a coherent narrative on anything. What would be so difficult towards drawing up a budget based on realities rather than a wish list? Every housewife knows that the money available for her monthly groceries is this much. Let us say 20,000 shillings. Monthly shopping, groceries, the works. Will she then come up with a budget of 100,000 shillings and decide the rest will come from somewhere? She doesn't know where, but it will come from somewhere. That is how our budget making process has become. How can we have a 4 trillion shillings budget, or even call it 3.8, Yet the only realistic revenue we are going to get from our taxes and even from borrowing is 2.5 trillion. It doesn't make sense. Why should we set targets for the taxman that are so bloody unrealistic? And there's some things that they don't see. And you wonder whether they have porridge between their ears. They increased the VAT on petrol to raise more revenue. Revenue actually went down because consumption went down, because people could no longer afford to drive their cars. And the other day, they increased the what did they increase?
The road maintenance levy.
The road maintenance levy.
Yes.
Because they want more revenue. You know, you wonder, even a simple lesson from last year, they can't get it and they're still loading more levies and more taxes, not knowing that the collections actually goes down. They are killing business.
They are. They are.
Right now, we are seeing that the only highlight of this government's job creation is to send people to be housemaids in Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Labor export. Guys, what happened to building local industry? Something's such low-hanging fruit with the right incentives. Kenya used to be a very big manufacturer. Why have manufacturers left? Why are all those big companies which used to manufacture their products here, consumer products, now importing from their subsidiaries, sister companies in Egypt and South Africa and where else? Why are Kenyan flower farms, why are in Naivasha closing down and relocating to Ethiopia, where they are getting incentives? Here, all they want to do is to shake you down, till you business cannot make sense. They don't get it.
You know, this story of austerity, we've talked about it before. It's something that has been debunked by economists all over the world. I mean, they've tried it. And the argument was, when there's scarcity, the economic term they use for what we now is called a recession, why do you make things harder and it's already hard? Is that not the time when you should give money, inject money into the economy so that you can jumpstart it? Because this one will certainly die. And the austerity measures when people are in recession has never worked. Absolutely never. It's not that it probably worked here. It has never worked.
I think it depends on where you target the austerity. Our problem is that our austerity measures are aimed at choking investment in production. But the parasites in power, they are not affected.
The largesse continues.
Then they go on eating as usual. Look at the kind of austerity measures they came up with. Very little of it was affected what the vagabonds in power eat. Just kidogo was touched.
You know, you do have a very valid point, because you know, in reality, you see the understanding is that austerity should mean anything that is not necessary is not done. But the things that are needful, the things that actually help the economy move along, should actually get the funding. But if we are then told by none other than the Auditor General that 1 trillion shillings went missing, and one doesn't really know whether 1 trillion is a heck of a lot of money. It's just about a third of what we're trying to raise. It's gone. Somebody did the math for us here. Okay. Ramu gave us the figures and said what these monies could do. Yes. So, in essence, we don't need to borrow money, do we? Because if we simply use what we have and what we collect, it's been tried, by the way, and we saw it working. It was tried. We saw it working.
I think when Kibaki came to power, he inherited an economy which was in more of a mess than this one. I think it was negative growth, and everything had collapsed in terms of infrastructure, roads, everything. Some kids grew up not knowing what a tarmac road looks like.
Even the structure within government had collapsed.
Yeah, and all the state corporation. Kibaki did not waste time. He just rationalized things, rationalized the spending, invested in the right places. And he did not become hostage to IMF or to... No. In fact, they're the ones who were coming to him. He was ignoring them. He said, with our internal resources, we can do so much of what we need to do. But if you want to help us, fine, but it will be managed. Then came Uhuru and Ruto, and things went south.
Actually, they went east.
Literally. What's got to happen, Macharia? Because I think we keep asking that question in terms of now trying to lurch us to a place where, lurch Kenya into a place where, things are significantly different or significantly progressive. What needs to happen next? And I think having the conversation about and putting it out there at the very least, and then the hope that it will land somewhere then where it germinates.
We must still have a national conversation, for one. But I don't think it is the conversation which will be driven from State House. If it is, then there will be people listening to each other. The government must wake up. Or let me not say government. Let me say that the political classes must wake up to certain realities. I would think June 25th was just a dress rehearsal. The more people get frustrated, the more that anger is building up. It will not just be what they are calling Gen Zs. It will be a full-scale, unmanageable, very bloody revolt. And that is the way we are heading, unless we recognize the signs and start addressing our national crisis now. The political classes cannot contain this thing. They can contain it for a while. They can buy people for a while. They can bully people for a while. But sooner or later, the implosion will come. Unless there are very deliberate steps to address these concerns, to fix the economy, and also to address the everyday concerns of people in terms of the arrogance they see from those they elected to lead them. Kenya still has a criminal rich-poor gap. From back in the Kenyatta days, Jomo Kenyatta days, I think it is growing today rather than
diminishing.
Those are things which must be addressed. Why should our political classes, our MPs, our cabinet secretaries, our presidents be the most highly paid in the world? If you look at it on a
global scale, yes.
On a global scale. They are the highest paid in the world. They don't see that as a contradiction. A national conversation must look at that. It must look at these inequalities in society. There is a ticking time bomb. It was Moi himself, I think in the mid-70s, who warned that youth unemployment in Kenya was a ticking time bomb.
Those were the exact words.
Those were the exact words.
In the 70s.
Yes. At the time when they were talking about doing a Kenya We Want convention, but the government did not want a convention of that nature. The rationale for a national convention of 1976 or 78, I can't remember the exact year, the rationale remains today. We must have this conversation. And not one driven by political classes sharing positions, that you can be a minister for this, somebody else can be a minister for that. That is not the conversation that is required right now. Not at all.
Sharia, thank you. Always good having you here. Masharia Gaido, veteran journalist, has been our guest. It's 9:01. Time for the news. More conversations coming up.
From previous predecessors is a different one.
The activist has also called on the government to implement the constitution, saying that the violation of human rights comes from not respecting the constitution.
We don't think the constitution is what the people need. Right now, it's a battle of really living the constitution or just predicting that it exists and put it up on the shelf and say we did that as a country, but really, truly, we don't live that.
Busia Senator Okiya Mtata wants the police officers who used excessive force against peaceful protesters to be punished in accordance to the law. According to Mtata, many protesters lost their lives and others are suffering from gunshot wounds due to the police using excessive force during the protests held between June and July this year.
The unit is also mandated to receive and investigate complaints against the police from the Independent Police Oversight Authority and the general public. Section 13(6) of the Prevention of Torture Act of 2022 states categorically that where an allegation of torture is made in respect of a police officer, the procedures for investigation provided for under Section 87 of the National Police Service Act, Cap 84, and Sections 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29 of the Police Oversight Authority, Cap 86, shall apply. Also, rogue police officers, mostly hooded and in civilian dressing, have, contrary to the law, targeted and snatched many people off the streets or from their homes, and some abductees have turned up dead or maimed and or badly traumatized.
Parliament has ordered the Baringo County Government to provide documents detailing the agreement between the County Controller of Budget and the Office of the Auditor General on the opening of 304 illegal bank accounts. Senators have given Baringo Governor Benjamin Cheboy 2 days to comply with the order as stipulated in the Public Finance Management Act. Kisii Senator Richard Onyonka questioned how the county opened so many accounts to operate Danida funds, suggesting there is a possibility that some funds may have been withdrawn illegally. A student from Tente Village, Nyamira County, is nursing injuries after his neighbour allegedly cut him with a panga. The minor grade 7 pupil in Tente Primary School was allegedly bitten by Peterson Nyakundi after he caught him allegedly stealing honey from his brother's beehive. According to the minor's stepmother, Melen Kemuntu, the boy returned home with deep cuts on his back and hand. The family has reported the matter to the police and are appealing for legal action to be taken against the perpetrator. That's the News Wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
3, 2.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Heri Latifa, Muga, Madam Ndu, nimesalamia wote sana.
Tumepokea salamu, asante sana.
Hapa Garissa today the weather is very good, only that baridi inatupeleka mbio sana.
So baridi ni degree ngapi hapo?
Hata sijui, lakini madam tunakauka sana.
If you want to follow the money trend, you've got to think like a thief to be able to catch that thief.
A slap from a friend
is better than a kiss from an enemy. You remember the kiss of Judas Iscariot? Iscariot.
Yes.
Is the one that imetuweka kwa hii mashida yote na mataabu kwa sababu of that kiss. Yet the slap of Jesus Christ when he slapped those guys wenye walikuwa wanauza mboga ndani ya kanisa took them to heaven.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, so traffic on the Thika Superhighway more or less has come to an end. Just a little bit of that around Muthiga Square as you get towards the city. And then on James Gishuru, on the other side of things, just a little bit of that as well. Let's keep an eye on things and see what happens as we go through it. Through the morning, I think it's getting better as we see it. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
On to the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. I'm feeling compelled to read this statement by Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. The Government of Kenya's Status Report Paper and Assurance Statement on the Privately Initiated Proposal, PIP, for JKIA. I'm going to just be picking out several. It's a 18-point statement. I will start from point number 5, which is an introduction. JKIA is a strategic national asset constructed in 1978 and managed by the Kenya Airports Authority. Its infrastructure has deteriorated considerably over the last 45 years and is unable to support the projected growth in passenger and cargo traffic. This is inconsistent with Nairobi's status as the host of numerous multilateral, international, and regional headquarters, similar to cities such as Geneva, New York, Vienna, and Rome. Increased economic activity, a rejuvenation of tourism, and the implementation of the visa-free regime has contributed to a surge in passenger numbers. JKIA's capacity of 7.5 million passengers a year was overstretched during the past year when the airport handled over 8.6 million passengers. The airport is 10 years behind its development schedule as per its long-term master plan and is lagging behind its regional competition in terms of quality of infrastructure, innovation and technology. Numerous incidents have highlighted this need to upgrade the airport, including leaking roofs. JKIA is also plagued by the inadequate aircraft parking bays, outdated passenger terminals and baggage handling systems, long waiting times due to inefficient passenger and cargo processing. In the past decade, the government has engaged stakeholders and investors on the need to modernize JKIA. The urgent need to upgrade JKIA's critical infrastructure, including the development of a new passenger terminal building, refurbishing the existing terminals, a second runway, and enhanced cargo handling facilities. This is well documented in the cabinet-approved National Aviation Policy and JKIA's medium-term investment plan. With this overarching goal of expediting modernization of JKIA, the government has considered various options of financing the expansion and modernization of JKIA, given that the project passenger throughput in the next 30 years is expected to grow to about 30 million. Right now we are at 7.5 million.
Okay.
In 30 years, JKIA is expected to be handling 30 million passengers a year. So, the KAA received a privately initiated proposal, that's PIP, from Adani Airport Holdings in March 2024. Under the law, the Public-Private Partnership Act, private investors are allowed to submit the privately initiated proposals to invest in national infrastructure priority projects. This proposal is currently undergoing the requisite due process, reviews and negotiations in compliance with the PPP Act, whose control checks will cover value for money assessment, stakeholder engagement, National Treasury approval, clearance by the AG, cabinet approval, and where required, approval by Parliament before any agreement can be signed. In addition, given its status and the important role that JKIA plays in national and international security and logistics, as well as being a gateway to a global multilateral hub, any proposal shall be subjected to the appropriate vetting by relevant security agencies. Security. For the avoidance of any doubt, all terms and conditions of the proposed arrangement are subject to negotiation in accordance with the provisions of the PPP Act, and no terms have been agreed upon as yet. As and when the terms are agreed, there shall be appropriate safeguards to ensure that Kenya's national interest prevails and that the private party is held fully accountable for the performance of its obligations. As part of this review process, a detailed due diligence investigation of the project proponent will be conducted in accordance with provisions of our law. This investigation aims to determine the proponent's suitability to be an investor in one of Kenya's strategic assets, its financial and technical capacity, legal standing to undertake this complex project. If the results of this due diligence are not satisfactory and or the proposal is not approved, the government will have recourse to other options for bridging the infrastructure gap at JKIA, including considering alternative proposals. In conclusion, Musalia Mudavadi says, in response to concerns raised, we reaffirm that the proposed expansion and modernization of JKIA will be conducted in strict adherence to our constitution and specifically in accordance with the legal frameworks established under the PPP Act. This process ensures comprehensive due diligence, a thorough assessment of value for money, financial viability, technical and functional viability, and the safeguarding of our national interests. The government will also ensure that all international obligations and regulations, including those with ICAO and others, will be adhered to, and that JKIA shall be modeled on international best practice to be a top-tier, world-class airport. In conclusion, he says, we emphasize that JKIA remains a strategic national asset and is not up for sale. Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, EGH, Prime Cabinet Secretary, signed on yesterday, the 29th day of July, 2024. Tutaongea mambo haya zaidi. First of all, check. Are people sending us screenshots?
Yep.
Yeah?
Well, let's see.
Yeah?
Let's see.
The screenshots we're talking about whether you are willing and ready to win with Britam Asset Managers. What are we asking you to do? We are asking you to go and put in at least 1,000 shillings to Britam Money Market Fund or Britam Smart Yield, and then take that screenshot, DM it to us. We will see. We will then pick one person to win 5,000 shillings courtesy of Britam. They're coming.
Oh, yeah, we'll see.
There's several messages. Several. Very good. So at the end of this show, we are going to do like that. All you need to do is invest in the Britam Money Market Fund. In the next hour, we want to discuss the options that President William Ruto has right now in terms of just addressing the issues that are being raised by members of the public and whether he is on course to actually addressing them. Kiri Muga is a member, you're a convener of the youth?
Interparties Youth Forum.
Interparties Youth Forum.
Yes.
And he also writes, opinion pieces here and there. Yesterday, a very good opinion piece was published in the Standard, and it was talking about the options. Yesterday, you were saying the president has lost the opportunity.
Sorry?
The president has lost the opportunity.
He has wasted political
capital.
Yes.
And today, we want to understand what that political capital is that he has wasted and whether there is any other that is available to him. Karibu.
Asante, City.
Eric.
City knew you.
Asante, Eric.
Do not worry.
Yes.
Other people do the same thing.
You're not the only one.
I've been called Eric on many occasions.
Yes.
Some even call me Ndu.
Yes.
I can equivocally say that has never happened.
So CT will give you the day's proverb. This
Yes.
week the proverbs are from landlocked African countries for the following number of weeks, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the proverbs this week are from the Republic of Burundi. Kid, let me ask you, do you know the capital city of Burundi?
Yes. That is Bujumbura.
Yeah, well, that's what people think. Actually, it isn't.
Oh, okay.
Bujumbura is just the largest city.
Okay.
Yes. The capital city is actually called Gitega.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Even I didn't know before I started researching these things. So do not think that I've suddenly become extremely smart.
Who moved it to Gitega? Is it that footballer president?
This current one is not a footballer.
This current one is not as big as footballer as the previous one. Pierre Nkurunziza.
Yes, Nkurunziza.
He loved football.
He did, and he played football.
He loved going back to his village and just playing with the local guys there. Ball to Hivo.
Yes, the proverb. Where there is peace, a billock here is a sickle, can be used to shave your beard or cut your hair.
Where there is peace, a billock, a sickle, can be used to
either shave your beard
or
cut your hair. Those are the options. But only if there's peace. Yes.
Kiddy, what's your interpretation of this proverb?
That in moments of tranquility, things that otherwise can be used to inflict harm can be used to only achieve peaceful, beneficial ends. And in the same vein, I'd better possibly infer that when there is no, in a moment of chaos, then the same instrument then can be used to inflict harm. That is my interpretation.
What's the message?
The message, therefore, is that...
have your panga with you all the time. In peace, you can use it.
Yes.
When there's no peace, you can see. What do you think the message is?
Well, I think that the message is that if we preserve peace, and then it therefore means that all that we have will only be used to serve beneficial ends. Yes.
Good. That's a very beautiful interpretation. Yes, it is.
If we preserve peace, then what we have can be of benefit to us. Very good one. A very good one. Tell us about the article that you penned that was published in the Standard.
Thank you. It's the first time I have a chance to speak about something I have written. So primarily, I want us to appreciate political capital as this currency that politicians and political leaders enjoy to mobilize voters, to engage in policy reforms, and to achieve political ends that are intended at delivering public goods. Political capital, like other forms of capital, can be invested, can be misspent, and can be abused altogether. Yesterday, we were looking at the political genius, William Ruto. We saw on the campaign trail in 2022. I was speaking about this political genius we had started back to watch, now get into action as Commander-in-Chief. And you see, in 20 months, in 22 months, you do not now judge a Commander-in-Chief based on hope, particularly on the benefit of doubt. Now, there are things he has presided over that then you can use to judge him. And I will say here on SpiceFM, without fear of contradiction, that in 22 months, the Commander-in-Chief has presided over small things that have given him little to no political returns. And it is because of these small things that today we are talking about the Gen Z revolution. He has disbanded his cabinet and appointed a new one. He has precisely 20 months for that cabinet to deliver to the people. Because if it does not deliver in the next 20 months, if it performs very much like the last cabinet, then I think the country is going to be in a very precarious position. And the precariousness of the position is that the president will be seeking a second term. If he's seeking a second term against a backdrop of a cabinet that has fundamentally underperformed, like the one he dismissed, we know that in African societies, incumbents don't lose elections, however unpopular they might be. For the Kenyan scenario, and I would call it a happy place, is that we have a very informed young population that has also lost its fear. And therefore, they are willing, we the young people are willing to work with government hand in hand as partners, but not out of fear. So in the event that this cabinet does not deliver in the next 20 months, then we hope that this administration will not seek to force itself on the people. So the thing is that because of the new cabinet is in place, if it does not help the president get back his political capital, then I think we might be in a precarious position in regards to 2027.
What are these small things, little things that you say that the president wasted his political capital on?
When President William Ruto was coming into office, we must remember that he came in with a very slim margin, 200,000 votes. And it is one of those instances where you say that someone has won by sheer fluke. Because of that small margin, it must also be understood that it is not to challenge his legitimacy. But then there is a reason why commanders-in-chiefs, presidents, are first made to commit to protect, to defend, and to uphold the Constitution before we hand them the sword. Because then, as commander-in-chief, the finest expression of our sovereignty, he has got the obligation of being the unifier. When the president came in, we had expected him to immediately reach out to his competitor, biggest competitor in that election, Honorable Raila Odinga. He did not do that immediately. Instead, he engaged in a long-drawn political slugfest, which again chipped away his legitimacy. And remember that by the time there was cessation of maandamano in 2023, 75 lives had been lost. Properties worth billions of shillings had been destroyed, and the country was on edge. So that is one of the small things that the president wasted his capital on. In my estimation, he should have reached out to the Right Honorable Raila Odinga immediately, healed the wounds that had been generated by a long, hard-fought election, and rally the country together. So that then you get the impression that by the time he was reaching out to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, it was out of political convenience and not out of prudence. Secondly, we had expected, we the people of Kenya, particularly the young people, had expected a President William Ruto who was going to preside over a lean and efficient government. What we saw immediately he was sworn in was everything far from a government that was lean and efficient. Remember, there was an attempt to introduce CAS, so that if it was not for the public-spirited litigation in this country, we today would have been saddled by CSS.
What makes you think we are still not saddled with by CSS?
Well, at least not formally. At least not formally, not legally, so that even if we are saddled, then it could speak to the further duplicity of the political class. So then, remember, the Constitution says that we can have, as a small cabinet, has 14 members. When the president disbanded his cabinet, and for an administration that keeps talking about austerity, we had expected that the president would appoint a fundamentally lean cabinet that would be able to get the government done. Why am I keen on a lean government? Because then a lean government translates into a lower cost of administration or cost of government. So when he insists on the maximum allowed by the Constitution, then it also underscores the fact that the president is not keen on having a lean, efficient government. He still believes on bloated, expansive government, which is wasteful, as his chairman of the economic advisors told us, that all governments are fundamentally wasteful and corrupt. I do not know if Honorable Dr. Ndu was confirming that they are wasteful and corrupt to the core. Yes. So those are things that, in my estimation, and among other things, that the president has painfully wasted his political capital on.
How can he get it back if it's necessary for him to have it to continue to govern?
I think that his best chance is his cabinet. His best chance is his cabinet. Of course, as constituted now, still has certain doubts here and there. You get the impression that he has resorted to the same old patronage clientelistic considerations. But then there are two ways that a government gets its legitimacy. The first is that it gets its legitimacy through the ballot, the same way William Ruto got it when he garnered 7.1 million votes. The second is when the government is big on its infrastructural power as opposed to its despotic power. The infrastructural power is when a government is able to deliver the public goods. Citizens are secure in the streets. Bandits don't shoot people for sport. Elected leaders are not killed in their own country. Businesses are able to function in an environment where they are not threatened by a tax code that is neither compassionate nor intelligent. And the children are able to go to school and get proper education for both their hearts and minds. And when you fall sick, you can go to hospital and get proper medical care. When the government does not deliver on those regards, I'm afraid it might be unable to get back its political capital.
You know, there's, I like what you're saying and the way you're presenting it. It's very polite. But something I just want to mention.
Polite.
It is. That's the beauty of the English language.
I respect my commander-in-chief.
Yes, you know, it is respectful, and that I think is good. I just wanted to mention, since we are delving into this discussion, that this continent has had, I know you're speaking anecdotally, but this continent has had more than 20 presidents, sitting presidents, incumbents, who have been defeated by opposition leaders.
Yes.
In fact, the first one ever, you probably wouldn't guess, so I know none of you will guess, so I'll just tell you. It was in 1967 in Somalia. The gentleman was called Abdul Rashid Ali Shermake. He defeated the incumbent, President Aden Abdullah Dar, in Somalia. And one Mr. Shermake, President Shermake, made history as the first African leader to peacefully hand power over to a democratically elected successor. Do you know why I'm saying this? I'm bringing this here.
Yes.
When you look at the problems that Somalia has had post Said Barre, no one would know that in 1967 this peaceful handover took place, because at best that country has been shambolic. It's a Kenyan word, yes, but that's what it has been. Now, it means we who have had a history of handing over our presidents, we haven't escaped that particular dragnet. If we think we have, we need to think twice.
Yes.
Because anything that has happened to your neighbor can easily happen to you. You are not immune.
True.
It is not beyond you.
True.
And all it requires is a misstep, reading the situation wrongly, then making the wrong decisions. And then suddenly you find that even what you thought doesn't exist anymore.
Yes.
Yes.
Shall we take a break then at that point?
Yes.
It's 9:30. Kidi Muga is our guest. He is the convener of the Inter-Parties Youth Forum. We're talking about President William Ruto and whether he is about to waste another political capital and what he should do to not do that again.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
A touch of gold and class is what you need to up your fashion game. Think Twice brand, your fashion partner over 10 years that operates 36 branches across the country, brings you Think Twice Gold in Thindigwa, Kiambu Road on the 27th of this month. Think Twice Gold offers a unique and golden collection of high-end brands, quality and fashion. We will be launching new stylish collection every month, a daily drop in prices to deliver unmatched value to our customers. And also, we will be adding more stock and variety every day. Think Twice Gold. Go bold, go gold.
Are you ready to unleash?
Hi, nataka kuona doc. My child is unwell.
Sure. Will you be paying cash or insurance?
Cash.
That will be 1,000 bob for registration and 2,500 for consultation.
Okay, give me a moment. Wow, I don't think I have enough. Bro, si sort me na 1K. Nimepeleka mtoi hosi na niko short.
Pole sana. Mtoi ni msiko wapi?
Nitakushow baadaye. Niaje hiyo 1K?
Aki sina kitu misai. Hujawahi consider health insurance?
I've been planning to, but finances zimekuwa tight. Don't wait for the unexpected. With Jubilee Health Insurance, we mind your health for you. And you can rest assured knowing that you're covered for all life's twists and turns. From doctor visits to emergency treatments, chronic conditions, and even wellness checkups for your family, parents, and employees. Jubilee Health Insurance has you covered. And to top it up, they offer budget-friendly options to suit your pocket. To get covered, visit www.jubileeinsurance.co.ke or text the word HEALTH to 40643 today. Jubilee Health Insurance, your number one choice for all health insurance solutions. Live free.
Are you ready to unleash your creativity and dive into the dynamic world of media? Then listen up. At Standard Talanta Academy, a collaboration between Talanta Institute and Standard Group, we are redefining the rules of the game. With our media mastery course, you'll embark on a journey that goes beyond the ordinary. From TV and film production, photography to digital journalism, our curriculum is designed to equip you with the skills needed to thrive in today's media landscape. But we are not just about theory, we are about action. Our hands-on approach means you will be creating, producing, and innovating from day one. And with Standard Group, home to KTN, Radio Maisha, Vibes Radio, SpiceFM, and the Standard newspaper, you'll have unparalleled.
The weather with SpiceFM.
18 degrees cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 13. 14 will be the low and mostly cloudy in Nakuru at 18, going to highs of 20. And 20 also will be the high in Nyeri, where at 17 it's cloudy. Raining in Eldoret at 15 with highs of 22. We'll see lows 13. It's 26 and sunny in Mombasa with highs of 29. 29 will be the high. In a mostly sunny Malindi at 27. 21 hazy in Kisumu with highs of 27 and it's cloudy at 20. In Kakamega we'll go to highs of 26 and lows of 16. Kampala this morning is sunny at 20, highs of 26, and at 31, that'll be the high in Dar es Salaam, where it's currently sunny at 24. Johannesburg, 9 degrees and sunny, highs of 19 and lows of 7, while Mogadishu is sunny at 27. It'll go to highs of 29. 21 will be the high in a mostly cloudy Addis Ababa at 18, while Lagos is cloudy at 25. We'll see highs of 29 and highs of 29 as well in a mostly sunny Kinshasa. Light rain showers in Beijing at 27 with highs of 28. While Paris is sunny at 23, we'll see highs of 34 and highs of 30 in a partly sunny London. Monday night is clear in New York at 24. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
5 to 10, Kidi Muga is still here. He's a convener of the Inter-Parties Youth Forum. Ndu.
So here we are, and we continue to say that, there's an opportunity that has been wasted. Maybe the opportunity flew out the window, but he's still the president.
Yes.
There's still a government in place.
Yes.
And I think we keep asking the question, and I said it even in a previous conversation that we had this morning, that it's necessary to have the conversation about what needs to be done, even if it's going to hang in the air and somebody will pick it up. What really does need to happen. And one of the things that rings true is that the Constitution, the supreme rule of law,
yes,
must be followed. What are your thoughts about that?
My sister Ndu, following the constitution is non-negotiable, particularly in a society that deems itself a constitutional democracy. But then you see one of the pitfalls in our situation is how the political class have implemented the constitution in the last 14 years or so. Because first, remember that they killed Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Having killed Chapter 6 of the Constitution, then they've therefore ended up getting less than qualified people. And when I say qualified, it is in regards to integrity in Parliament and in other institutions. And the moment you have got rotten people presiding over the affairs of the state, where there is no impersonality, where there is no competence, and where there is no meritocracy, then that is a society that is unable to take off. A lot of times I have heard our political leaders talk about the Singapore miracle. What they are not telling us is that Lee Kuan Yew, serving as a prime minister, and you see under the pure parliamentary model, you can be there as long as your party is able to elect you, insisted on meritocracy, on impersonality or an impersonal civil service, and competence at all times.
People who also broke the law were shot and hanged. If we want to also follow the same example.
The same Lee Kuan Yew.
If we're following the same example, people who broke the law, or participated in corruption, or stole or mismanaged public funds, were hung and quartered for everybody to see.
Thank you very much, and thank you for mentioning that, because one other area that the president has wasted his political capital on is on the war against corruption. Remember that when he was coming in, the then DPP told us that he had engaged in prosecutions to serve nefarious political ends. We had hoped that William Ruto, who had come to the office, riding on the having tapped on something larger than himself, having tapped on the frustration of the people who wanted change, was going to preside over a credible war on corruption. When he came in, the only thing we saw was to disband the KEMSA board. After disbanding the KEMSA board, it has always been business as usual. You go back to the oil scandal, edible oil scandal, you see how he shot himself in the foot with the fertilizer scandal, and a lot of these other scandals that, sometimes have not found their way into the front pages. Look at the airport conversation. Again, they are saying that they can't sell a strategic asset, but then the Constitution provides that information should be provided. The manner in which the people of Kenya got to know about this is through a whistleblower. If they were genuine, that they have done right by the people of Kenya, we would have seen, or should have seen already, this deal made public so that people of Kenya can scrutinize it. It has still not been made public. Why is that so? Remember that we have not had a chance to look at the deal about the SGR. There is conversations that you want to lend credence to, that chances are that we no longer have the control of the port of Mombasa. So it is incumbent upon this administration to make sure that it does not shoot itself in the foot, that these are things that it gives the people of Kenya, to, if not for anything else, then to assure them that they have got a responsible people manning the affairs of this country. Thank you.
Sometimes I look at our president.
Yes.
And I see a man who genuinely wanted to not only be in touch with his people,
yes,
but to be in touch with their needs.
Yes.
And to be able to so eloquently speak about these problems,
yes,
and to identify them and create a narrative around them, it can't be any other way than that he actually understood it.
Yes.
But the politics of Kenya has an interesting twist to everything that you say that is supposed to talk about and bring about change and development.
Yes.
It's called the competing interest.
Yes.
There's always a competing interest.
Yes.
Leaders speak about wanting to help people, but is that is at the foremost of their speech? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But what is their foremost desire?
Yes.
The handshakes in this country have been wonderful because They have ensured that where we may have gotten to a precipice and we may have fallen over the cliff, we've been held back, but we have to ask at what cost.
Very good.
I can't put a price tag to peace, and I cannot. But I must ask.
At what cost?
Because there has been a cost to us. This thing we call peace. Okay?
Yes.
And because we love this peace and we want it, anything that we have seen in the past few weeks, which has represented disruption, not just change, disruption.
Yes.
Because it's politicians who are active and probably elected who believe they are the harbingers of change.
Yes.
And in this case, they were caught flat-footed.
Yes.
So I am saying,
by young people who could
they're not politicians. They're just simple wananchi.
Yes, young people.
Yes.
Who could not take back a document that reading it on the face of it was, again, not compassionate, not intelligent, and it was not in touch with the needs of the majority young people of this country who have gone to school but are locked out of opportunity and out of everything else.
Good. You see, it bothers me.
Yes.
How then, because in the previous hour we were talking about this, how then does one get your president to actually understand that what he's doing isn't working, not quite the way he's doing it, and that he needs to change, and that the change he may find is actually in tandem with everything that he has been saying, not necessarily going against it?
I might not be able to answer intelligently on what the president needs to do, but I will speak about the expectation of the young people. That when William Ruto was elected by 7.1 million votes, majority of it being young people, the legitimate expectation was that finally, one, he had tapped onto our own frustration for change, so that even those who might not have voted for him knew that on the other side is someone who has tapped into something that we identify with. And then, therefore, again, part of that expectation was that this was someone who was going to cut through the political blather, make sure that he is able to deliver to the people of Kenya on that which matters, and make sure that he sustains the soul of the nation. So that today, when we are speaking about the commander-in-chief, particularly as young people, 22 months later, then we are saying that these are our disappointments with the commander-in-chief. That one, he seems to, for instance, when the young people were giving him areas that we felt that the president needed to act on, he has acted on those recommendations in a manner that Justice Sharadrao, while chairing the Judges and Magistrate Vetting Board, there's something he called legal disingenuity. In this place, we would say that the president has engaged in political disingenuity. Because when the young people are telling him that disband the cabinet, I mean, why did he fire people that he was simply going to bring back? Why didn't he just retain them and then sack the undesirable elements in his estimation and tell the people of Kenya that these ones I find no fault with them, I only have fault with these ones? So what the president has engaged in is what the young people are calling political disingenuity, and it has given them more reasons to organize better, to mobilize better, and to make sure that they remain the active citizens that are contemplated in the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Let me ask this question. Since you brought this up.
Yes, please.
What then do the youth see? You've mentioned, yes, the opportunity has arisen for them to reorganize, organize better, look at this matter better.
Yes.
This better that they're working towards, what do they see it looking like?
Oh, well, the better that the young people are looking at.
That we young people are looking at.
Yes.
That's what you should say, not me.
Yes. Of course. The better that the young people are looking at is that the old political script is unable to get out of this mess. A political script that seeks to tap into ethnicity, a political script that seeks to leverage on ethnic contempt and ethnic exceptionalism, a political script that leverages on patronage and clientelism. Because when we said that we were tribeless, when we, the people, young people said we were partyless, it was not partyless in terms of lacking an ideology. We were clear that we wanted the finance bill rejected. We were clear that we wanted our country run better. It was, again, Thomas Sankara says that a soldier without an ideology is a potential criminal. We are aware of that as young people. And so what we are saying...
Repeat that. I rather like it, yes?
Yes.
What did the late Sankara say?
Thomas Sankara says that a soldier without an ideology is a potential criminal. Okay. As people who mobilized, we are sure and we are certain of what we want, the outcomes we want, and we are willing to push for them, not out of fear, but out of an understanding that this is our chance to give our fair share to our country.
Do you think the active youth are a critical mass? I'm not asking about the youth population.
Yes.
That's clear.
Yes.
But the youth that are demanding this change that you talk about.
Yes.
The youth that are saying these things. Do you think they're a critical mass?
I will
answer. Do you think there are many other youth who feel, we'd like change, but in a different way?
I would answer in the affirmative that yes. And I will explain. That one, to disrupt a political order, you only need to get 5% of its population on the streets. So Kenya, with a 50 million people, you only need to get 5% of Kenya's population on the streets. And then you are able to disrupt it.
Who came up with this equation?
Look at the Orange Revolution happened in which country?
Ukraine.
In Ukraine. Look at the Orange Revolution and look at all other areas where revolutions have taken place, including places like...
So a clear minority can actually disrupt the order for the greater majority?
If it's sustained. It's not a flash in the pan kind of thing.
Well...
So the minority can become dictatorial?
Not dictatorial. What we are
saying... A 5% coming out and agitating can actually disrupt what they're not getting a support of from the other 95%?
If it's sustained, it's like I said, it cannot just be on a Tuesday afternoon and then you're gone.
Is that not wrong?
I'm wondering. I'm just trying to understand. My sustainability.
95% are not coming out.
Not necessarily.
They don't want the disruption.
Eric, the point you make, arguably, is again logical. But consider principles like the 20-80 principle. Okay, this 5% may represent those who are willing to actually go out.
Yes,
but it doesn't mean they don't represent those who haven't gone out. Okay. Yes.
Thank you for the very intelligent intervention.
How can you tell?
Yes.
How would you tell that the 5% are, the tip of the iceberg? That there's a larger population that supports this 5%, and that these 5% are actually not the disruptors who are coming to shift against what the majority would want.
Let me give the example of using 10%. If there are 10 people and you say 10% is one person, doesn't really mean it's 9 against 1 and you'll get lost. Okay? But as you keep going...
If the one is very loud...
it can be loud. 2 of these people, so that 7% remain only you 2%, remove that guy, making too much noise. I'm simply... if you increase the numbers, you suddenly realize that one becomes 10 when you're talking about 100. When you're talking about 1,000, becomes 100. Now, 100 people are many people. Okay? If you get to 10,000, talk about 1,000 people. Those are very many people.
Yes.
They are still a minority. They are 10%.
Yes, they are. But I am talking about, one, the optics, and I'm talking about the effect. If you find, say, 100 people stand in the middle of the road, you won't see 100. You'll see many people.
Of course.
Yes. Even if you see 10, you'll wonder, 10. I'm simply saying it's the effect of it.
Eric, I must remind you that change throughout the course of history has not been effected by the many. It has always come through the hands of the minority few, committed and willing to give up. It is people like Rosa Parks refusing to give up their bus seat that then is able to set in motion what is called Montgomery bus strike of 1956 that takes us to the signing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 by President Lyndon Baines Johnson. I mean, the usual organizing model in this country has always delivered at best at the table of handshakes. And the table of handshakes has always operated in the ecosystem of political chicanery and political subterfuge. For instance, 2007, 2010, or 2012, we had an opportunity to fundamentally transform this country. But then that opportunity was missed because of political subterfuge. When we fought about half carpets and half breads, instead of fundamentally bringing in the change we had talked about. Look at Kibaki's state. And when I say the state, I mean the Ministry of Interior and that infrastructure of monopoly of violence donated to the state. How it disingenuously in 2013 repurposes a political contest of 2013 instead of the people of Kenya speaking about their issues. We ended up turning that election into a referendum about the ICC. So that those are the things that would happen to us if we still stick to the same organizing model that have been perfected from, say, YK92 to the YK92s that we've had to date. We are saying enough. And we are right now, we think that time has changed, so must we. We think that young people working together and coming together in the interest of this country, that we have a real chance at making sure that we align this country to its highest ideals. The cost notwithstanding.
Back to my question.
Yes.
How do we know that the youth that have come out in the last 6 weeks on the streets of Nairobi and other major towns and cities in the country, that they actually speak for the majority? How do we know that they do that?
Well,
I'm saying that juxtaposing it with what clearly seems to be the response from the political class, that they still have the numbers. That many of the other population and the youth in other parts of the country do not buy what these urban youths have been doing.
Again, remember that these protests took place in almost 40 counties across the Republic. It was one of those instances where you say that the protest was spontaneous. I know you remember the spontaneous response to protest in regards to because I know you reported the 208 violence when politicians were saying they were mobilized and others were saying it was spontaneous.
It was spontaneous mobilization.
Well, there was genuine anger, my brother Eric, in part with the finance bill. If you go to, on 10th of May, I think 10th of May, I wrote my first article on the finance bill. And in that finance bill, I had said that that document, as it was without heart and mind. And I was pleading with people at Treasury to recall it and rework on it so that it reflects our economic realities. One thing that has happened in the last 1 year since we enacted the Finance Bill 2023 is that many businesses, startups, and SMEs have gone belly up on account of Finance Bill 2023. The net effect is that there has been higher job losses, the tax bracket has shrunk, and that is part of why government was able to miss its revenue targets in 2023. Finance Bill 2024 was introducing almost 200 new taxes on households. Its net effect is that it was going to further shrink the tax bracket for the government. It was going to heighten job losses. And so, again, I think on June 4th, I wrote the second article on the finance bill, where I said that this finance bill, if implemented as is, it is going to kill the vision bearers with the courage to create the opportunities of tomorrow. it is in that week, I think on Wednesday, because I write every Monday, it is in that week that we saw the PG in State House, and they made concessions, and I will say it on Spice, that part of those concessions were addressing some of the issues that the Interparties Youth Forum through the convener addressed that week in that article. But then it is a scenario that you'd say that they were a day late and a dollar short. Because the public anger had built over time. So when young people were hitting the streets, they were a representation of even their peers who had not come out. They were with the blessings of their parents who, because of age and other things, were unable to come out. And so, as long as our cause is just, it does not matter how many people are on our side. We shall soldier on to make sure that we have a better country. Thank you.
Does it matter how long it takes?
Well, it doesn't matter really. What matters is that, number one, we conduct ourselves within the confines of the law, because we are also keen not to undermine the integrity of the forces we are engaged in. That is why we still hope that the security agencies will be able to tell us people who engage in acts of vandalism, because those are not us. We must preserve the purity of the and the integrity of the forces we are engaged in. So time does not matter. We are only concerned with acting within the confines of the law.
You know, I was rather hoping I'd hear you say, well, given that we are youth, time is on our side. Look, actually, it is on your side. You have time on your side.
Yes.
But the thing that I must say is that this isn't the first time that youthful citizens of countries have decided to make a stand, take a stand, make a point and push. We've seen countries where not only have they pushed, but they've actually gone to take over the country. This is unique in that you're saying we have constitutional obligations here. We are not going to go against the Constitution.
Yes.
But more significantly, my concern isn't even that. That has been clearly stated.
Yes.
The when which I asked, when you get to the there that you want, there'll be among you people who will want youthful Kenyans to be a representative in that particular assembly, isn't it?
Yes.
You've grown up in Kenya. What worries me? What is it that you are doing to safeguard that you don't become like us?
Thank you, City. One thing that I think, even as we call ourselves young people, I think we are young people as a quality of heart, not as on account of age, number of years one has lived. It is a quality of heart. In the course of the coming weeks, because of the political imperatives that we have to live with, young people shall be coming together under what is called Positive Pathways Initiative, so that then we move away from facelessness to now having a face and making sure that we sustained this civic engagement. But as we are doing so, we shall keep reminding the people of Kenya that being young is a quality of heart and a quality of mind. And for instance, we could have City as one of the young people we are working with. Yes, we could have Raila Odinga as one of the young people we are working with.
You are disqualified.
I'm giving an example. So yes.
Thank you for joining us. We've come to the end of the show. Kidi Muga is the convener of the Interparties Youth Forum. He's been our guest for this hour. And thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Asante sana, have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m. We'll be back tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Ndu Okoh. Police are investigating